economy and development. With global digital reach, we connect Africa's pulse to the world stage. Welcome to SOUQ News Television, and here we go beyond the headlines, from breaking news, in-depth conversational programs, to market analysis and indices. From policies affecting growth to unique documentaries, from live event coverage to bespoke productions, we deliver content that connects you to the world. At SOUQ News Television, we provide news surrounding business, economy, and development, infomercials and jingles that stand out, short and long-form documentaries crafted to international standards, independent production spaces with full technical support, special coverage for individual and corporate events, a special form of documentaries through our prestige package, Immortals, where we tell your story the way you'd love it, and business support services tailored for small enterprises. SOUQ News TV, powered by FemiWatch Limited, also home to the Isle 95.9 FM Lagos and Kasua 99.7 FM Kano, and Emirate News Television Abuja, together forming Africa's trusted media powerhouse. Storytelling, coverage, and connection that matters. SOUQ News TV, your home for business, economy, and development.
At the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC, we are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission: empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website www.adstudiescenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Drop makes a hole in a stone, not by force, but by consistent dripping. Nothing describes this woman more apt than her indomitable and consistent drive for excellence. Born Bilikisu Abiodun Moturayo Omobalanle Adekola on December 24, 1962, into the family of Alhaji Abdulmoshood Adekola, the first grandson of the first Alhaji in the city of Ibadan, and a Cameroonian mother, Mrs. Hannah Aduke Adekola, in the ancient city of Ibadan, Oyo State. While her mother was still pregnant with her, left for England to further his education. And while she was pretty much young, her mother left the country to go join her husband, to return while she was 8 years. Meanwhile, she was left to be cared for by her grandmother. She was registered in a private boarding primary school at the age of 4.
My parents had me. My father went off to England to go to school before I was born. He left my mother pregnant with me. My mother had me, and before I was a year old, left to join her husband in England, and I was left with my grandmother. I grew up with my grandmother before my parents came back like 8 years after. Spent my first, from at age 4 or 5, I was sent into a boarding nursery school. I lived in boarding school at a very early age because my parents wanted to protect me from becoming a local Ibadan girl.
And she usually attributes these to her early independence and wisdom. Omo Agbanimi, some of her friends sometimes poke fun at her wisdom, which is way beyond her age.
I was raised by my grandmother, so I'm a bit of an old woman in my brain, in how I think, as my friends say.
Her foray into business started at a very young age at her grandmother's shop where she sells salt. Little did she know that this was going to stand her in good stead in life.
My first exposure to business was my grandmother's little shop where she sold salt. And I used to love to sit behind her little kiosk and help her to sell the salt. But who knew I was being trained for business in my future?
While at secondary school, she participated in the literary debating group, excelling in it, which made her consider a career in law, though that didn't last. Also, it is worthy of note that Ibukun Awoshika could hold her own in athletics, earning her the nickname Rabbit because she could really run.
As an athlete, if you want to run, and I used to be fast, they used to call me the Rabbit.
Unsure of what career path she was going to settle for, she considered becoming many things at one point or the other of her life. After secondary school, she thought of becoming a medical doctor, but she couldn't stand the sight of a cadaver, so she let go of that idea. Later on, architecture was another fancy that caught her attention. Similarly, she also considered becoming a chartered accountant, finally only see she could work in a bank.
I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I found out that they work with real dead bodies. I changed my mind very quickly. I then thought, you know what? I'd like to be an architect. I was good in sciences and had a problem if parents sentence you to science when you're good at both. So I ended up in Ife to study chemistry. By the end of my first year, I realized how much I hated chemistry. I could pass it, but I didn't love it. So then I thought, you know, I'd make a good lawyer. I debated throughout school. I used to represent my school in school's debate. So everybody knows that I can win an argument. So I gave it everything trying to change to law. I used to go and sit outside the door of the dean of law. And then one day the man said, come, what do you want? I want to change to law. Is that why you've been sitting outside of my office? Yes, sir. Okay, if I only take one person from another department next year, it will be you.
After the completion of her undergraduate degree at the University of Ife, she went for the compulsory one-year National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, in Kano State, where she worked as an audit trainee at Akitola Williamson Co., which later became Deloitte.
For youth service, I did everything to make sure they sent me to an accounting firm. They first sent me to a Muslim school to go and teach. That was easy to solve. I just wore a dress off my shoulder. I went to report. I was immediately rejected. Once they rejected me, I went back to the posting room and waited there for days until they sent me to Akintola Williams & Co.
Although she was later given full employment after her service year, she felt becoming an accountant wasn't a thing.
You would have thought that having gone through all that trouble, accounting would be the love of my life. When I got there, within the 1 year of my youth service, I realized how boring accounting is to me. Because they had all the processes somebody else had thought about before. All I had to do was open old dusty files from company to company without imagination or initiative. I'm a very restless human being. That was not going to work. So I finished the work. I did well. They offered me permanent employment, but I said thank you, but no thank you. Why? Because at that moment, I had come to a realization that that was not the vision for my life.
After returning home, she joined Alibert Nigeria Limited, a furniture company, as showroom manager. In a word, only to kill time. She only stayed for 3.5 months. She left to begin a furniture manufacturing company called Quibis Limited in 1989, just months before her 26th birthday. The company later grew into SOUQ Chair Center Limited, following a venture merger with SOUQ SA and Guarantee Trust back in 2004.
But the first job I could find 1 week after was in a furniture company. So I went there to kill time. My kill time project has resulted in 30 years of investment of my life in building a manufacturing group in furniture. So it was never the plan of my life. So some of you will accidentally find your purpose.
One could only wonder what had led her not only to compete, but to thrive in a male-dominated terrain. With over 30 years in business, Ibukun Awoshika is a woman to reckon with, encouraging more women to participate in the business terrain. Her passion to see the girl child not just to be educated, but much more to learn to own our own value and trade with it when there is need for it. Her lifelong ambition is to see herself die empty.
My biggest ambition in life is to die empty. Totally empty. That no talents, no giftings, no opportunities, nothing that I was born to do, that I have the capacity to do, that I do not do.
Following her remarkable achievements, she's been conferred with different doctorates, including one in business, entrepreneurship and human capacity development from the Lagos State University, Ojo. Similarly, she was given a honorary doctorate of business administration from the Obafemi Awolowo University and another from the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Ogun State. Apart from our entrepreneurial prowess, Ibukun Awoshika is an ordained minister of the gospel, a presenter, writer, and a TV host.
The Bible tells us that let every man be what? A liar. And let who alone be true? Let God alone be true.
She hosts a television program called Business His Way. Also, she acted in the 2020 Kunle Afolanyo movie titled Citation, which in addition to the books she had written, including Business His Way, The Girl Entrepreneur, The Girls in the Boardroom, and My Thoughts in Codes. In 2004, she earned a certification in business administration and management from the IESE Business School. She's also the chairperson of the Novel Nigeria Office for Philanthropy and Impact Investment. She has consistently encouraged women to take up more leadership positions without compromising their values and integrity. In 2005, she was appointed the MD CEO of SOUQ SA of France, GTB PLC, the Chair Center Limited, and some local investors after the ban of the importation of furniture by the federal government of Nigeria in 2004. Furthermore, it is noteworthy to note that she independently established another ultra-modern furniture facility, Furniture Manufacturers Mart in Ikeja, Lagos. In 2008, she was among 5 Nigerian entrepreneurs who appeared in the first African version of the Dragon's Den. Unlike a great deal of others who knew exactly what they wanted to do from the beginning, she admitted to accidentally finding purpose. Ibukun Awoshika is a member of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, a member of the board of Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, a former chairperson of the board of trustees of Women in Management, Business and Public Service, and a member of the IESC's International Advisory Board. Furthermore, she sits on the board of Digital Jura Limited and Cabri Nigerian PLC. Additionally, she's a fellow of the African Leadership Initiative and Aspen Global Leadership Network. History was made on the 7th day of September 2015. Following the resignation of Prince Ajibola Afonja, she became the first female chair of the First Bank of Nigeria in its 126 years of existence. Ibukun Awoshika's Octo-Nigerian father, Abdul Moshood Adekola, who was a great influence in her life, passed on the 20th April 2020 after serving the Lord as an usher at the Fountain of Life Church in Ilupeju. He was a Muslim convert. He was converted few days before his 60th birthday. She got married on her 28th birthday to Abiodun Awoshika, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Excel Exploration and Production Company Limited, and they are blessed with 3 fine young men, Oludola, Olufishika, and Olamiposi. To celebrate a life of impact at 60, friends and mentees surprised Awoshika by building the Ibukun Awoshika Sports Center at our beloved secondary school, Methodist Girls High School, Yaba, Lagos. This project took about 6 months to complete and had some of our mentees like Tara Durutoye, Ndidi Okuanu, Chichi Nwoko, and Bisola Runsewe. They marshaled it alongside a team of other successful people. She stands like Joshua upon the pinnacle of the Horeb, looking to command an army of a new generation of women entrepreneurs that wouldn't stop at anything to achieving their God-given dreams. For her, she believes that regardless of how illustrious her career is and how successful she could ever get in life, her family and husband remain the most important gift in her life. Ibukun Awoshika.
Known as the father of African literature, Chinua Achebe was born on the 16th of November 1930 in Ogidi, now Anambra State, eastern Nigeria. He was born to Isaiah Okafor Achebe, a teacher and an evangelist, and Janet Anenichi Iluebunam, a vegetable farmer. Achebe has reshaped the global understanding of African identity through the power of storytelling. Raised during the twilight of colonial rule, Achebe's education was steeped in both Igbo tradition and the Western values of post-colonial Christianity. As a student at the University of Ibadan, he became fiercely critical of how Africa was portrayed in Western literature. Achebe believed that Western literature often painted Africa as a dark and primitive continent, but he sought to tell the African people's lens. In 1958, Achebe's groundbreaking novel Things Fall Apart shattered colonial narratives through the tragic story of Okonkwo, an Igbo warrior. Achebe illuminated the complexities of African culture and the devastating effects of European colonization. Things Fall Apart became more than just a novel. It became a symbol of African resistance against the oppressive narratives of colonialism. Achebe was not just a writer. He was a passionate advocate for African self-determination, and his political activism made him a critical voice in the post-colonial era. Even after a life marked by personal and political struggles, including a car accident that left him partially paralyzed, Achebe continued to inspire. He taught at Bard College and later Brown University, where his influence reached new generations of writers and thinkers. He was married to Christiana Chinwe Okoli, and they had 4 children. Sadly, he died in March 2013 at the age of 82. Chinua Achebe's legacy endures in his novels, his essays, and in the countless voices of African writers who follow in his footsteps. He gave us a voice, a story, and a vision of Africa that is ours to share.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Mase Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbol.
A very good morning to you and welcome to SOUQ News Update on SOUQ News Television. I am Olumide Shokoya. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN's Monetary Policy Committee met on November 24th and will meet today, 25th, 2025, to analyze split over whether the interest rate will be cut or held steady. Now, the meeting started yesterday at the CBN headquarters in Abuja, and its last meeting in September. The Monetary Policy Committee, NPC, trimmed the monetary policy rate by 50 basis points to 27%, citing improvement in inflation, foreign reserves, and exchange rate stability. It marked the first rate cut of 2025. Now, with the inflation continuing to ease and FX liquidity improving, some analysts expect another modest cut of 25 to 50 basis points to stimulate credit and growth. Others believe the committee will hold the rate at 27% to assess the full impact of the recent policy moves. Nigeria's business community is expressing concern as the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, prepares to fully enforce its ban on sachet and small volume alcoholic drinks by December 2025. The Senate has directed NAFDAC and other regulators to commence strict enforcement of prohibition. The targets are high-strength alcohol packaged in sachets and PET bottles smaller than 200 milliliters. Industry players warn that the move may lead to job losses and disrupt supply chains, especially for smaller producers. However, public health advocates have welcomed the decision, citing the dangers of unregulated alcohol consumptions and its social impact on youth and vulnerable communities. Now, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has clarified that religious workers, including pastors, imams, and others, must pay tax on salaries received from their religious institutions. Speaking during a podcast interview on Mic On, Oyedele explained that while churches, mosques, and other religious organizations enjoy tax-exempt status under Nigerian law, this privilege does not cover the personal income tax of individuals employed by them. Oyedele's comment aims to address public misconceptions surrounding tax obligations in the religious sector. The clarification is part of the government's broader efforts to improve tax compliance, increase revenue, and ensure fairness in the system, regardless of the sector or employer. Nigerian farmers are experiencing one of the most difficult seasons as prices of staple maize, rice, cassava have dropped significantly, leaving many unable to offset soaring production costs. While the naira has stabilized recently, the cost of agricultural inputs continues to rise sharply. Fertilizer prices have surged by over 41%, seed and seedlings have doubled, and herbicides and pesticides have climbed more than 20%. These escalating expenses, combined with falling commodity prices, have severely squeezed farmers' profit margins. Many are now at the risk of cutting back on cultivation or exiting the sector altogether, raising concerns about the future of food security. Analysts warn that unless targeted support and subsidies are provided, Nigeria's agricultural productivity may decline further, worsening inflation and threatening the livelihood of millions of dependents on farming across the country. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order launching the Genesis mission, a government-wide effort to build an integrated artificial intelligence platform powered by the Federal Scientific Dataset. Now, the initiative will unite the U.S. Energy Department, national laboratories, and top scientists to create foundation models, automate research workflows, and accelerate discoveries in areas such as biotechnology, fusion energy, protein folding, and advanced materials. Officials say the unlocking these massive datasets could shrink research timelines from years to hours. The project will link America's most powerful supercomputers with robotic laboratories to design experiments, run simulations, and generate predictive models. The order also places strong focus on national, economic, and health security, including space exploration, quantum science, and semiconductors. Trump has framed the effort as key to outperforming China in the global AI race, directing his administration to cut regulatory barriers and make the U.S. the world capital of artificial intelligence. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. I am Olumide Shokoya. Coming up shortly is SOUQ Business Landscape. Please stay with us.
Dr. SOUQ A. Adedeji, whose leadership has significantly transformed Nigeria's tax administration, is a distinguished first-class graduate in accounting from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
I firmly believe in the wisdom encapsulated in the statements. Revenue growth is the lifeblood of a nation's economy, providing means to fulfill essential duties to its citizens. These words capture the core principle that will guide us as we navigate the challenging terrain ahead, ensuring that our nation thrives and fulfills its obligation to its citizens. In our pursuit of a greater fiscal future, we are determined to align ourselves with President Bola Tinubu's Extreme Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee. This collaboration will enable us to shape the prosperous fiscal landscape that will empower our nation's growth and development.
Born on January 8, 1978 in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Nigeria, Dr. Adedeji is an accomplished accountant and public officer with extensive expertise in corporate taxation and public finance. His journey in public service began in 2011 when he was appointed as Commissioner for Finance in Oyo State. In that capacity, Adedeji introduced transformative financial reforms, most notably the establishment of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) to streamline government revenues and expenditures. In March 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Adedeji as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council, NSCDC. In this capacity, he founded the Nigeria Sugar Institute and spearheaded the Sugar Backward Integration Program, which sought to enhance local sugar production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. In June 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed Adedeji as Special Advisor on Revenue, and by September of that same year, he had ascended to the position of Executive Chairman of FIRS, Nigeria's leading tax authority responsible for the assessment, collection, and management of federal taxes.
The focus will be on these indirect taxes, so that as long as you consume, you have to pay. As long as you have interest on your investment, you have to pay. And this is echoing Mr. President's message that we are not going to tax the seed, but we are going to tax the fruit. The fruit is what we focus on. So all those things, when we have this holistic process, it will be captured, and that the vision is to have a progressive tax, that if you earn more, you pay more, and if you earn less, you will not pay.
Under his leadership, FIRS exceeded its 2023 revenue target of 11.55 trillion naira. As chairman of FIRS, Dr. Adedeji implemented a performance-based system aligning with the service's new slogan, simplifying tax, maximizing revenue.
Dr. SOUQ Adedeji has done incredibly well in transforming and reforming the tax processes and procedures in Nigeria. In a little over a year being at the helms of the affairs of the tax body in Nigeria, we have seen a significant improvement in revenue generation. His policy of not crumbling business with taxation is something that also needs to be applauded. SOUQ Adedeji philosophy is taxing fruits and not the seed, and taxing prosperity, not poverty. Because if you look at the fiscal landscape of Nigeria in the past 10 years, you find that businesses have struggled to live, and that has led to the exit of so many businesses from Nigeria. But with this new reform, we're seeing that the businesses will profit from the reform processes, and that will mean more business for Nigeria. We will have a lot of foreign inflow in terms of foreign direct investment that will actually drive the process of economic growth for the country. And I think he has done so well, and he deserves a kudos, especially for taking the giant stride to restructure FIRS for efficiency, for accountability, and for value for money.
He has also made the welfare of the staff a top priority, fostering a positive working environment that has brought smiles to the faces of FIRS employees nationwide. Supporters of the tax reform bills highlight several key benefits, harping on the need for streamlined tax processes that could reduce bureaucratic hurdles and foster an environment where businesses can thrive.
He has initiated a lot of reform which dovetail into the tax reform bills that is before the National Assembly. This initiative is to improve on the tax administration system in Nigeria with a view to improving on the collection systems that will be beneficial to every member of the Nigerian state. SOUQ, as is well known, has improved on simplifying tax reform even within the federal landed revenue, which in no means has improved on tax administration, and he celebrated essentially for the core initiative of the tax reform.
Under Dr. Adedeji's leadership, Nigeria's tax system has gone beyond mere policy adjustments. Its focus is on fostering sustainable growth and ensuring that the benefits of tax reforms reach both businesses and citizens.
So those that are attacking the bill One, they are doing that in view of the formula they discovered, which may not be, will not augur well for them when they bad allocation. And then secondly, they may be having the feeling that this law was just designed to favor Lagos State in the course of its own effort to become a state that has special status. Okay? It says so that will make it to be seen as if it is a country of its own, even though it's not up to the level of country, but it is higher than all other states in the country. Probably this may be the reason why they are agitating. The one that you can see clearly is on this issue of BAT. And then they have other suspicion. So that is another worry that I have. The issue of trust. Trust, what do some experts call trust deficit. Yes, will be promoted greatly by this if corrective measures are not taken. Graduation must not be defined. But then people have to go by what is happening now. As they go against it. Since now the graduation is about contribution of state that are producing these goods and services being consumed. So they have the right to just say that, so now instead of 20%, it will now be 60%. And then you hear the government functionaries, including members of the committee, saying that no, that's not what they mean. They mean area of consumption. This 60% graduation is about consumption area, not location of the headquarters of company that produce the good or services. You should have defined that in the law.
Contributing to long-term national development, Dr. SOUQ A. Adedeji's career is a testament of his unwavering commitment to improving Nigeria's financial systems and enhancing revenue generation, showcasing his exceptional expertise in corporate and public finance.
The Trump administration has once again thrust U.S. immigration policy into the global spotlight with the recent announcement of a new voluntary self-deportation program that offers a $1,000 stipend to undocumented immigrants who agree to leave the country on their own. This incentive-based strategy is a calculated shift from the traditional, more aggressive deportation measures and is already stirring debate among policymakers, immigration advocates, and the public alike. The program, introduced in early May 2025, is being implemented by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It allows undocumented migrants to register for voluntary departure using the CBP-1 app, after which they will receive a government-funded flight and a $1,000 stipend upon confirmation of their exit. Homeland Security officials argue that this move is designed to save taxpayers significant amounts of money. According to data provided by the DHS, a forced deportation process costs the government an average of $17,121 per individual. In contrast, the stipend program is seen as a cost-effective alternative that also reduces the strain on overcrowded detention centers and court dockets. This new measure is a part of a broader, intensified effort by the Trump administration to curb illegal immigration and tighten control over the U.S. southern border. Since returning to power, President Trump has reinstated several policies from his first term, while introducing new ones aimed at deterring undocumented migrants. Deportation numbers have surged, with nearly 66,000 individuals removed from the U.S. within the first 100 days of his new term. Family detention centers, once heavily criticized for their impact on children, have been brought back into operation, while legal aid for unaccompanied minors have seen severe cuts. These developments come at a time when the United States is experiencing a historic high in its foreign-born population. As of 2023, nearly 47.8 million immigrants were residing in the U.S., with an estimated 11 million of them undocumented. Many of these individuals have lived in the country for over a decade, raising families and contributing to the economy. Immigrants, regardless of status, are a vital part of the U.S. labor force, contributing billions in taxes and significantly shaping industries such as agriculture, construction, and caregiving. Critics of the $1,000 self-deportation offer argue that the program may oversimplify the complex reasons behind undocumented migration. Many of those targeted by the program have deep roots in the U.S., including U.S.-born children, community ties, and long-term employment. Human rights organizations warn that such policies, while less aggressive on the surface, may pressure vulnerable individuals into making life-altering decisions without legal representation or full knowledge of their rights. There are also concerns about the ethical implications of offering monetary incentives for departure, particularly in cases involving asylum seekers or those fleeing violence. From a strategic standpoint, the administration insists that this approach is a practical way to reduce the migrant population without resorting to mass raids or extended detentions. Supporters say it offers dignity and a choice to undocumented migrants while protecting national interests. However, immigration experts question the actual effectiveness of the program, noting that similar efforts in the past have yielded limited results. The offer of $1,000 may not be enough to motivate individuals who have risked everything to seek better lives in the United States. The debate around this policy underscores the broader tensions within American immigration discourse, balancing border control and national sovereignty among humanitarian obligations and economic realities. With the 2026 midterm elections approaching, immigration remains one of the most polarizing and politically charged issues on the national agenda. In the wider global context, policies like this could set a precedent as other countries monitor the U.S. approach, especially those in Europe and parts of Africa facing rising migration numbers. Questions around voluntary migration, incentives, and state-led deportation policies are likely to spark wider international debates. What remains clear is that the Trump administration's latest move is not just a domestic policy. It is a bold, controversial experiment in reshaping the global migration conversation. I am Moyosore Adibi for SOUQ News TV.
Cashew nuts, ranked among Ivory Coast top cash crops, play a crucial role in the country's economy, generating substantial revenue and supporting livelihoods across the country. As the world's leading exporter of raw cashew nuts, Ivory Coast contributes an estimated $800 million annually to its economy and also serves as a vital source of income for over 410,000 families, particularly in rural areas where few other opportunities exist. Cashew trees flourish in Ivory Coast northern regions, including Bondukau and Savannah, known for its high-quality nuts and extensive plantations, just as Worondogu and Bagwe in the north central and northwest are also emerging as key producers. These regions not only drive Ivory Coast cashew production, but also support local livelihoods and economic growth. However, the country with over 29 million citizens is yet to fully realize the potential of its cashew industry. Despite being the top producer, the country processes only 7% of its cashew domestically, resulting in lost opportunities for value addition and job creation. Specifically, a recent data reveals that only 22% of the country's cashew nut output was processed domestically in 2023, even as the volatility of global cashew prices poses risks to farmers' income and overall economic stability.
Concerns also arise regarding labor practices in some cashew farms and the environmental impact of deforestation for new plantations. To address these challenges and maximize the benefit of its cashew industry, Ivory Coast must focus on key strategies moving forward. These include investing in local processing facilities to boost job creation, export value, and farmers' incomes. Furthermore, the Ivorian government body overseeing the cashew sector, ARECA, must promote fair trade practices and ethical sourcing to ensure better prices for farmers and improve working conditions. Sustainable farming practices will also help to protect the environment and ensure long-term cashew production. According to a recommendation made at a workshop organized by the World Bank, tax exemptions and access to credit facilities will help to tackle some of these challenges. Furthermore, the private sector can also invest in research to develop high-yielding cashew varieties, improve processing techniques, explore new cashew products, as well as develop and implement digital platforms that connect farmers to market in order to facilitate financial transactions. Organizations like the Africa Cashew Initiative (ACI) must also assist in data compilation in the value chain at macro, meso, and micro level. By addressing this and harnessing its cashew potential, the country can further enhance its economy and build a more sustainable future for its citizens. Israel Adeyemi reporting for SOUQ News.
Wole Soyinka, born Akiwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka on July 13, 1934, in Abeokuta, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria, stands as one of Africa's most celebrated literary figures and a global icon of resistance against oppression. His life and works reflect an unwavering commitment to justice, culture, and the transformative power of art. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in colonial Nigeria, an environment that exposed him to both traditional African culture and Western education. His father, Samuel Ayodele Soyinka, was a school headmaster, while his mother, Grace Eniola Soyinka, was a devoted Anglican. This blend of indigenous and colonial influences deeply shaped Soyinka's world. Soyinka attended Government College Ibadan and later proceeded to the University College Ibadan, where he studied English and literature. Soyinka completed his education at the University of Leeds in England, earning a degree in English and later a doctorate degree. In the late 1950s, Soyinka began working as a dramaturgist at the Royal Court Theatre in London. However, his passion for storytelling and cultural preservation drew him back to Nigeria, where he founded two theatre groups known as the 1960 Masks and the Orisun Theatre Company. Soyinka's works, often a fusion of Western dramatic techniques and African themes, address universal issues of justice, freedom, and human dignity. His early play, titled A Dance of the Forest, which was introduced in 1960, written to celebrate Nigeria's independence, critically examined the nation's socio-political trajectory, setting the tone for his career as both artist and activist. Soyinka's activism became more visible during Nigeria's post-independence years. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he called for a ceasefire between federal forces and Biafran separatists. This led to his arrest by the military government, and he spent 22 months in prison, where he wrote a short drama titled The Man Died, Prison Notes, a harrowing account of his imprisonment and a profound critique of authoritarianism. Soyinka has authored more than 20 works, including plays, novels, poetry, and essays. In 1986, Soyinka became the first African to win the Nobel Prize of Literature, an achievement that brought global recognition to African literature. Soyinka remained an outspoken critic of oppressive regimes, often at great personal risk. His activism extended beyond Nigeria, addressing global issues of injustice and human rights. During periods of military rule in Nigeria, he went into exile, continuing to write and speak against tyranny. Today, Soyinka is celebrated not only as a literary giant, but also as a symbol of resilience and moral courage.
Fellow Nigerians, did you know that constituency and executive projects in your communities are not gifts from your legislators? They are projects sponsored by the legislators and funded by the federal government to improve your life and the lives of those around you. These projects belong to you. Without your vigilance, they might never be completed. Don't allow them to fade away into unfulfilled promises. Stand up, take ownership, monitor their progress, demand accountability, and report concerns to ICPC. Call our toll-free line now on 0800 2255 4272 or WhatsApp only on 0806 656 4726. This message is brought to you by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, with support from MacArthur Foundation and the Center for Democracy and Development in Africa, CDD.
The growing interest in Nigeria's lithium reserves comes as countries worldwide scramble to
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is SOUQ Business Landscape.
Good morning and welcome to your breakfast show. This is SBL, SOUQ Business Landscape. Like we always say here on this table, this is where you are meant to be this morning. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and you just know that there is no better way to start this day than letting us know that CBN, they've been at it. The monthly NPC meeting held yesterday and is continuing today, and we're looking forward to beautiful news, beautiful stories. People are shouting inflation is going down, but let's get to see it trickle down to tables, foods, monies in our pockets. We'll talk about a whole lot of that. There are also issues we will also want to iron out. Farmers, how exactly are they meeting up with profits? Because most people think farmers are all about bringing up food for us to eat. But hey, it's a business for them. And they have bills to pay. So what they are bringing out, their products, and what they are selling, at the end of the day, is it commensurate to what they put in? We'll get to talk about a whole lot of this. But these are the two major things we will dwell on the table today. My name is SOUQ, John Rogers SOUQ, and I am not alone. It's a Tuesday, so you are very sure to see the beautiful one. She's here with us today. Swift, good morning.
Good morning, SOUQ. Good morning, Lumide. How you doing? I like your smile.
Which of us?
You.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, SOUQ and I were on radio last night. We were there till, I think, 1 a.m. Don't tell us what we said, but you can always listen to the R95.9 FM, which is a sister station to SOUQ News television. And they say if you train a woman, or if you empower a woman, you've empowered a nation, because a woman empowered will build a nation. Today is the day against, the International Day Against Violence for Women. Against women. So if you know a woman who is being abused, who is being hit, who is being violated, who is being intimidated, please speak out today, because this is the day. My name is Swift Aderito. We're going to have a good time on the show.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Also, violence is not just about physical violence. It could also be emotional, and it could be financial too. Yes. The knight himself. Good morning, Olumide.
Morning, SOUQ, John Rogers. Good morning, Swift. I am Olumide Shokoya. So glad to be here. Happy International Day for Violence Against Women.
Yes, let's.
I hope we also have our own day. International Day Against.
Yes, violence against men.
Yes, I think it's more like women will speak up. Men would fight for women compared to women. So if there was this statistics shown, there was a man was walking on the street and a woman would just hit him and people will walk past. Then the same thing repeats. The woman and the man are standing on the street and the man hits the woman. And then you just see more than 3 people running to help. So I think society, we have been brought up with don't hit girls. But our parents now need to do a better parenting. Don't hit your brother, and you as a girl, don't hit your brother, and you as a boy, don't hit your sister. So it's not okay for you as a woman to hit a man. Same way, it's not okay for a man to hit a woman. So we can have gender balance.
Fair enough. While we are here and listening, not interrupting. Today is like you've heard it. Let's everybody change and give a helping hand to our ladies and also the men. Men cry. There's no harm. There's no harm in it. If you need help, shout. Today, let's now start with our first story for today. It has to do with CBN and NPC meeting. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee will meet. They met yesterday and they are also meeting today with analysts split over whether the interest rate will be cut or held steady. The meeting started yesterday at the CBN headquarters in Abuja. As at last meeting, that was in September, the NPC trimmed the monetary policy rate MPR by 50 basis points to 27%, citing improvement in inflation, foreign reserve, and exchange rate stability. It marked the first rate cut of 2025. Now the inflation continuing to ease and FX liquidity improving, some analysts expect another modest cut of between 25 to 50 basis points to stimulate credits and growth. Others believe the committee will hold the rate at 27% to assess the full impact of the recent policy. This is one particular period where we will say, okay, we are seeing some progress when it comes to monetary policy. We are seeing some progress when it comes to financial dealings. We are seeing some progress when it comes to specifically stability of the naira. Unlike the fears and what we saw months and some few years down the line. Yeah. If we look at what's happening in CBN right now, I'm sure a whole lot of coffees are moving around and DEX systems are all clicking. Do you think we are going to leave that particular rate at 27, or do you think it's going to come down? Definitely it's not going to go up.
Well, I think that will be left to the NPC to decide whether to go up, whether to stay. Yeah, it shouldn't go up. It should either stay there or come down. While some people believe that it should come down so that SMEs and all that would have access to more capital, will expand their business, thereby creating job for people, also boosting revenue. Also, the the fintechs and all these platforms that lend money can also expand and get more borrowers to come into their business and all that. So that's why a lot of analysts are saying that this basis point should go down so that all businesses can actually thrive. Because, I mean, right now, lending rate is not something favorable, especially for SMEs. Maybe for the big techs, maybe for the multinationals, they can really approach the bank and, do business. But the SMEs, and when we talk about the SMEs, the informal sector is the large part that constitutes the SMEs. And if we really want to bring them in, if we really want, what will I call it? If we want the economy to actually grow the way, because people say, oh, the economy is doing well. But if you ask an ordinary citizen, they will tell you they're not feeling it. They will tell you they're not doing this. So it's because of the SMEs. They don't really have access, to that capital they want to expand. And that's what we want. We want expansion. We want industries coming up. We want more job creation. So in order to achieve this is the reason why analysts are saying the basis points should go down.
Okay, basis points should go down. Now, we've seen this administration saying we've gotten to that particular place and we are at the turning point.
Okay.
So if we, from 27 last month, now we are still at 27. This turning point we are looking at, do you see us getting better, the inflation not going up but coming down? Do you see us running down this lending rate, 27, 25, possible 20? Maybe by next year, do you see us getting to close to a single digit in the next 2 years? Is it a possibility?
All right, right about now, the 12-man committee of the Monetary Policy Committee, they are under pressure because it is their job to actually finally decide or determine the lending rates and what is going to go on, how they can hold on to the economy, the borrowing rates, inflation, the cash flow in the economy and all that. Now, looking at statistics, what School of Thoughts have argued and have sent to them is 2023 was a disaster for the Nigerian economy because that was when the subsidy was removed and so the economy struggled. and the inflation rate hit its high peak. 2024, there was a bit of stabilization, but there was still a lot of inflation. But of course, the government had a lot of policies when it came to manufacturing, taxation, and they were putting in money into the economy to just ease a lot of things. 2025, we started to see the result of all the government policies of 2024, and that's when inflation actually started to fall. We saw a stabilization of Naira from 1.7 to 1.5, which it has been closing and it has been steady. It hasn't hit 1.6 in over 6 months. And this is the first time
hitting 1.6 is not the issue.
Yes,
no, it
actually is, because this is the first time in
I'm looking at the differential.
Hold on, Mr.
I don't know if you understand.
Mr. Chooks, I understand you.
Okay.
But this is the first time in 9 years in the Nigerian economy that the dollar has been steady at a certain price. And it has not gone higher. It hasn't hit a higher in 9 years. And so that means that for inflation, it's a plus. So you must understand where we are coming from. So there are different schools of thought and financial institutions who are pushing the NPL guys that, look, the Naira is steady, inflation is coming down, and we are seeing it. We are not just seeing it. Now, the good thing about the inflation is we are seeing it in market pricing. We are seeing it in Gary, 20% reduction from what it was sold last year and the beginning of the year. We are seeing it in rice as a 33% reduction. We are seeing it in petroleum, thanks to Dangote. We are seeing reductions. We are not seeing increase in these things again. And so for this reason, they are sitting on the NPL.
We're not seeing bread yet.
Well, that's not me. And for these reductions, which is the main staple food, Gary, beans, rice, tomato, pepper, which is what the average man goes to the market to buy. People are now saying, calm down, please. People are now saying, look, if we are looking at these reductions, then the NPL should bring down the rates. Let's say 26-point-something%, because the reduction of the rates is a lot. December is coming. A lot of companies want to plan for January. That's the first, second quarter, and that's massive projects. So if the rates come down, people can take loans to do for manufacturing, for projects, and for companies. If the rates at this point, when they have this meeting by the end of the day, does not come down, there are some projects that are in the works that they are just waiting for that 5% removal. If it doesn't come down, then a lot of manufacturing companies will reduce. They're also looking at companies who want to re-employ because of a 5% or a 2%. So you may say, okay, we need 2 receptionists, but because of the cost of borrowing loans, servicing that we are already doing, we cannot employ so number. So one particular person should have to do the job of 3 people. Once the rates come down a little to commercial banks, because CBN is giving at, let's say 27, commercial banks is giving at 30. And so once the rate come down a bit, then we are now aware that, okay, we can do a little bit of employment, we can innovate, we can do a media coverage. And so everybody is literally just waiting on CBN to know if a lot of dirty Decembers are going to happen, if people are going to fly into the company, if they are going to sponsor retreats for their company. So this meeting is actually critical. Why should CBN reduce rates? For a long time, for the past 6 months to 1 year, we have seen inflation come down. We have seen the Naira steady. We have seen manufacturing doing well. We have seen our stock exchange do very well. It hasn't crashed. So I think CBN needs to reduce those rates because it's hard for the common man. At the end, it's not just the big earners and the Dangotes. It is the common man on the street because people are looking to borrow money from all these fintechs this December, to run December, to travel home. So if the rates do not go down, some people would not travel home. Some people would not buy Christmas dresses. So we are waiting. Yes. Some people would also not get bonuses because of MPC rates. So we are waiting critically for the NPL. No, that's reality for the man on the street.
Let's leave the man on the street. Let's look at Nigerian companies and put them side by side with foreign companies that also operate in this particular climate. Now, for a lot of these companies, they have access to getting loans from banks in their client, banks in their countries. And they are getting these particular facilities at rates less than 5%, for some 2%. But the Nigerian counterpart that is doing same business has to struggle to get that particular same loan at, let's say, give and take, if there is government assistance at 27%. How are they going to compete?
I think this is where microfinance banks come in and every other...
The microfinance bank is also giving them at that same rate.
Yes, because they're getting what is getting from CBN.
That's why people now resort to the money sharks or how...
The money shark is even worse.
So it's quite interesting how these people would want to expand their business and they can't expand their business. So it's either choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea. So which one? Do you want to go to approach the bank or the microfinance, or do you want to approach LAPO or loan sharks? Which is which?
But can they compete? Looking at it, what it is now, can they compete with people getting loans from outside this country at well?
Companies are not really expanding. Companies are downsizing. That's what is happening, right? A lot of people are downsizing. So what companies are doing now is, if one person can do 3 people's job, hey, we don't need to hire this, we don't need to hire you. Hear people say, that's why most times in some organizations, once one person leaves, they don't hire to replace, because, I mean, the overhead cost is, it's almost killing. So, and that negates expansion, because they cannot approach the bank for loans to expand business, so they just try and micromanage. That's where some offices have to put off their ACs. Some don't even run on generators, only when they need to.
Okay.
You know, some are now doing, what do you call it, when you stay at home?
Hybrid work.
Hybrid. Some are doing hybrid. So some offices now, you work 2 days, 3 days. Even people now, even employees or people looking for jobs now will tell you, okay, do I have to come all Monday to Friday and all that? Some companies now, they say, okay, let's do 2 days, let's do 3 days. I mean, one of the companies I worked in at a point, they said 3 days in the office, you know, the rest are home. So they created work from home. So you can actually work. So that saves costs, that saves a whole lot of things. And that's what companies are doing now. Another thing I would have advised, but we need financial literacy, is going to the stock market. But for you to even go into that, you need to have a whole lot of what we call shock absorber in Nigeria. Because, you know, when it's good, it's good. When it's not good, you also have to, you know, bear the loss. So that's one of the ways that they can, you know, think of expanding. But all in all, until we reduce this lending rate, there will not be much of a significance. Yes, it strengthens the Naira. That's all SOUQ is saying. It strengthens the Naira. Inflation has gone down. But what about the people?
What about the people? Swift, before we move to our next story.
Yeah.
In the last NPC meeting, CBN was able to do this. They tried their best to increase the liquidity in banks. They said, okay, banks, hold my money. You don't need to send it to us.
Yes.
Now, that particular
act
extra that the bank is having.
Yes.
Do you see the bank being able to get that money into the commercial sector that really needs that money to work?
And like we said, this period, people have been more excited about banks. You have seen, normally we see a lot of SMEs complain, or business owners complain that, oh, this bank is owing me money. As of 2023, 2024, we saw a lot of big businesses complain of how certain banks were just taking out monies from their account. Some banks, some people who had even sued certain banks. What's the name of this guy that makes cars? Innocent had sued a particular bank. Let's not call the name of the bank. And they were unable to pay. And at a stage,
did they want to pay?
No, it wasn't just because they were mandated by court to pay.
Yeah, they appealed.
At a certain stage, they appealed. They said, look, this is our interest, this is our profit. This is, if we pay this huge amount, because, you know, we made some mistakes on this account or whatever we did, this bank may not stand. But this year, we are finding out that a lot more people are now taking loans. A lot more banks, like in quotes, the big banks, the big 4, the big 7, they are now giving out more loans now. That's what statistics is showing, because central bank's rate has been more steady.
Now,
people are more confident.
The question is, are they giving out more loans to small businesses?
Exactly.
Or they are giving out more loans to the very big business?
So let's face the realities. Realities is most banks, the big banks, the big 7, they are not there for the small businesses. Yes, they do attend to the small businesses, but they have limitations.
Now, I needed to look
yes,
that would be
because your percentage, I'm having a 10% on 10 billion, and I'm struggling with a 10% on 300,000. And it is the same energy that my loan officer is going to use to chase 10 billion, that they are going to use to chase 300,000. Who is on that?
Okay, now, but on
so
their
the
deadline,
big banks, they let the
deadline.
fintechs, they let LAPO, the just smaller people do what they have to do.
On their deadline, on their business CBN guideline, they are supposed to finance SMEs.
We agree.
And that is the best and most possible way to grow an economy.
We actually agree.
But now we get to see that year after year, the banks are the major ones that declare profit.
Now,
not
the Yes, but the challenge is sometimes, if you look at the SMEs, many times it's the first 5 years of an SME life is very rocky. The bank is not your senior brother. They are not going to hold your hand through it all. And so they are looking for profit. A bank will rather put in millions into a Dangote refinery. You know every year there's going to be a turnout. An SME, rain can fall and just flood the store. And the machines and everything you have bought with, you know, your small 500,000 is gone. And so that means that the bank is going to now declare bad debts. Because the person cannot... This is reality. And so we see it all the time. And so that's why we advise small SMEs. Leave banks alone. Look for government loans. Look for waivers. Because this is why the Bank of Industry grants. Because anything can happen. You need to grow your business to a certain point before, you know, you can put your shoulders high and say, oh, I am okay. If you take a loan, there's a possibility as an SME that for the first 3 years, you will be unable to service or pay back that loan.
Okay, but keep in mind that grants also is based on merit.
We agree, but
so
they
it's
are
not accessible.
But they are, yes, but they are actually smaller grants. I was at a tech training, and in Nigeria, they were giving almost, let's say, 100 businesses. Once you had
100 businesses.
And hold on, a drop in water is better than no drop.
Okay.
That's a reality. And so they were saying, okay, we can give this. Now, instead of a tech startup, you are going to a bank with a 37% interest rate, and you are getting a grant that you can refund at that time, or if they even see you doing well.
Most grants are not.
Exactly, you don't even need to. Once they just see that this thing is doing well. So which one makes more sense? You, as an SME, it makes more sense for you to push towards a grant. Maybe both of you do a collaboration, 2-3 small businesses do a collaboration and get a grant. Then go to a big bank where someone is chasing you for 37%. A friend of mine just called me and she noticed that she had taken a loan about 4 years ago for her business. She's a doctor, so she started a small hospital. And she said in between her starting the hospital, she had taken a loan of about 10 million. She said she had paid back because she actually had money somewhere, although her hospital is not yet making profit. But she had managed to pay them back. Now, she wrote a letter to the bank and said, please kindly send me a letter stating that my loan is done. They didn't send that letter. They said, oh, account officer has been changed. Don't worry, madam, we know. And then she gets a huge, like a funding from a particular hospital who wants to collaborate with her international hospital. And she just noticed that her account was debited about 12 million. What's going on? And the bank sends her a letter that you're owing us this amount, this is the profit. And it took her almost 3 months, you know, she had to get a lawyer, had to go to the bank and a lot of appeals, and then they now went through their accounts and realized. Now, she was lucky that she was able to pay back because her brothers and sisters said, oh, this is your hospital, you don't have money. Okay, so they helped. Imagine somebody who doesn't have money. Then you now get financing that you want to use to buy equipment, and the bank takes that out.
So in other words, the hospital which she established didn't make profit.
Bam!
So she paid back from saved money.
Yes.
So which means,
So at the end, imagine if she had waited, instead of starting 3 years ago, she had waited for this collaboration of funds.
But not everybody has access to 10 million just lying around. You have access to 10 million.
We will talk to SOUQ after the show.
I agree with you. It's to get hospital equipment. How much do hospital beds cost? You can't get a good bed for less than 500,000. And no matter how small a hospital is, you need at least 5 beds. You need drip stands. You need a nursing station. You need stethoscope. You need machine, oxygen machine, nebulizer. Even that 10 million was, she probably even had more money to add. The smallest hospital, you can't use less than the 20 million to set it up.
Okay. SOUQ, thank you very much. Now,
No, I welcome grants, bonds, and all that.
So for a small business, grants,
like SOUQ said, it's just a drop in the ocean. It's 100 businesses. How many MSMEs do we have just in Lagos? Not to now even talk of the whole of
Lagos
Nigeria.
Island. Don't even go to Lagos.
For those that are out there, always know this. Like we'll say on this table, put your ears to the ground. There are always possibilities of grants, and you need to be informed to know where to go and find partnerships. Also note this, there are associations, be them SMIDEN, be them the Small Business Owners Association. There are associations you should try and get connected with so you get a lot of information, assistance, and some mentorship. We need to grow this country. And from the MPC meeting to SOUQ Business Landscape. We'll go to our next story for today, and it has to do with NNPC. Now, add an L and is limited. Now, the National Petroleum Company Limited has set June 2026 as a new target for selecting technical partners to revamp Nigeria's state-owned refineries after years of stalled rehabilitation and dwindling expertise. Speaking at the press briefing in Abuja, NNPCL's Group Chief Executive Officer, Bayo Julari, admitted the Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna refineries remain far from global standards. He said their products are currently not commercially viable when compared to those from private facilities like the Dangote refinery. The new target signals a new renewed effort by NNPCL to revive Nigeria's refining capacity, reduce import dependence, and address long-standing inefficiencies that have plagued the sector. Analysts say success depends on transparency, technical competence, and credible private sector collaboration. Okay, this is where we now shout, people of God, we've sunk billions in dollars in trying to see what's going to come out of these refineries. And over time, we've also seen that a lot of these monies were just like water poured in baskets. They can't be accounted for right now. The new board of NNPC, when they came up, they said, hey, let's sell these facilities.
Exactly.
Then we had a different chain of thought saying, no, we can't sell. These are national assets. Okay. But as we speak right now, the NNPCL, they said, okay, let's see what we can do.
Reforms.
So he's saying that by June, we should have some direct technical partnership. And we can tell the country, okay, for standards, for a fact, this is where we are, this is what we can do, this is who we are able or looking forward to partner with, and see if these refineries can work again.
Quite interesting.
Now, let's take it personal. Do you think we should go back this route?
Honestly, we've tried this for how many years? A long time, decades. And it has not come into fruition. And that is why when this new chief came in, he said, let's sell this asset. Let's just sell it and do away with it. But like you said, senior advocate of Nigeria said, you can't sell national assets. It belongs to the people. And he said, okay, fine. If you can't sell it, let's reform it. Another idea came in. But my question now is, before we can even take any further step, there is still something that is being almost swept under the carpet: misappropriation. Trillions, larger than the budget, has been swept under the carpet, and we've not even investigated to see where this money went. This money could even fund our next year budget, but we're not talking about that. We are saying, okay, let's leave that alone and let's move. We cannot move. We have to first clean the house before you bring in new equipment. Because if you bring in new equipment, you're bringing it into a dirty house. So, first of all, let's sort that out. Because if you don't sort that out, bring in more partners, we do reforms, we will find ourselves back at square one. And it's just June 2026, a year or thereabout. Secondly, who are the partners? Are they coming from outside Nigeria or within? If it's from within, good. Job creation, expansion, skills, knowledge acquisition, and all that. Who are you partnering with is not the problem. Who's going to oversee this? Because there has to be an oversight committee, independent of the government. Because we all know when government puts their hand into certain things, the outcome is not always 100%. So who are going to be? I would advise an independent partnership, an independent oversight team that will monitor this thing. And if this thing does not go well, what are the consequences? Because there has to be some consequences too. Because we operate in a country whereby people believe that they can get away with anything. So if we know that if this thing doesn't work 2026, heads will roll, then they will sit up. So what are the laid down things put in place to make sure that June 2026 is June 2026? We will not be hearing another thing. Those are some of the things we need to look at. It has to be independent. It has to be thought. And this time around, if we're going to go this route, transparency, audit, review, it has to be made public. the Senate have to be on their toes at this point. For the Senate, I would recommend transparency, audit, review. An open panel should be reviewing this every quarter with the independent team monitoring.
Okay.
And it's a hard ball to sell, but well, if you can sell it, because I feel it should be sold, to private investors in Nigeria, not outside Nigeria.
Okay.
If you can sell it, no problem.
Okay, now let's move forward from where he has stopped. Not go back, not repeat.
You already know where my stand is. I don't know why you are trying to be delicate with me. You know where I stand with NNPC.
Today is the International Day of eradicating, eliminating, stopping violence against.
And for me, anything putting money back into an NNPC refinery is a violence against women, children, and Nigeria as a society. Let me start this way. I was at Luth yesterday, and I went to see the doctor. Thank God it's not critical and it's not terminal. And last week, the doctors were running a skeletal service. But they said, look, the federal government has given us an MOU, and, there's no response. We don't trust the system. And so they are still on strike. And a particular doctor was seeing me because I went to accident and emergency. So if you was sick, you go to accident and emergency to say, okay, this was going on. And they write you a letter. Then you go to the clinic. And so as he was about writing the letter, a nurse came in. We are on strike, and she was just, and I was looking at her. And when she was done, I said, madam, I know you are on strike. I know you are fighting for your monies, but you received your salary last month. She said, yes. I said, good. Calm down. These are people's.
Did you tell her that what was disturbing you was not a strike?
And I told her, I said, these are people's lives. Do not forget you took an oath. And she said, she cannot die for that. I said, nobody expects you to die for Nigeria, but you took an oath. I said, because when you are in the UK, you work for 14 hours. You're 14 hours, you have a 5-minute break. But you all go to the UK, and you don't sit down. If you try yourself, you'll be sued. But in Nigeria, you can sit down for 20 minutes in an hour that you walk. And she said, yes, and she laughed. And she said, madam, I said, look, I'm exposed. Calm down. I'm here for a reason. And then I got my letter.
Okay.
And I
expose
went
us to NNPC.
And then they told us that we couldn't see the doctor. They were
after this whole
because consultants were the only ones around. Profs, consultants, those are the only ones. The regis are the ones on strike. So it's like the middlemen. And they're the ones that do the major work because they clock you, they see you, they go you, take you to the next level. Then it's when it's critical, they call consultants. I said, okay. I said, sugar. Let's add some more sugar. And, and of course, when the cases too are critical, is then the consultant comes in and puts it, few touches and it's sorted.
As we speak right now, is NNPCL critical?
Now, there's a reason why I'm saying this.
Okay.
In the last 25 years, they claim that $25 trillion has been estimated to have been spent on the revamping of refineries that never work. That's when they put them in, the refineries did not work. We are talking of
$25
trillion, right? Yes.
Okay, so
now,
it can't be $25 trillion.
That's what the statistics is showing. As of last year's alone, we used $3 billion. Hold on now. As of last, trillion is more than billion now.
Yes, but $1 trillion, our entire economy is not.
They are saying for 25 years, that's military administration or just administration. Good luck, Jonathan. What you have been using to fix those refineries that we push and start.
It's still not up to that.
Estimated. That's what is estimated. Good. Now it's maybe up to that because as of last year alone, you used $3 billion to rehabilitate the refineries. That one shisha do 3 months. Calm down.
$3 billion was
that was last year.
It was not used
to rehabilitate. Uncle. To rehabilitate, they did not even say fix. They said rehabilitate. They did not say the other things they spend money buying because NNPCL still has a budget of things that they still, use to run the refinery. They still buy. Plug don't come out. Screw is not screwing well. The rig is not turning. That's minus. Hold on. That's minus the $3 billion. How much are the doctors asking for? This is the reason why I'm saying. Now, if we are going to do another one again, that's another $3 billion. There's a bit of inflation again. And so that will be more than $3 billion. So let's say another $4 billion again to touch these things up by June. Now, they are talking about transparency. They are promising us that there will be transparency, there will be this, there will be that. I'd said it on this table, that there's nothing the Nigerian can do, because there's a school of thought that claims that the refineries were sold under one administration that was from the South, and that he signed a particular document saying, in fact, it was so hard with the legal tenders that Nigeria cannot get out of it. And that's why Falana thought that, look, we cannot sell an asset. It's not because we cannot sell an asset. That's the claim, that it was sold to a Dutch person, and that the terminologies we signed as Nigerians, we didn't take the proper legal, our proper lawyers, they're the brilliant minds that can see through, all those lines.
Where exactly are you coming from?
I'm telling you that there's a school of thought, and that is why we must continue to spend money to refurbish these refineries, and we cannot sell. So guess what? The refineries are a horrible bride with bad manners that we must keep in our house. And we are keeping them at our house at the detriment of education, health, security, food. And so the refineries, hold on, let me be done, baby.
Okay.
The refineries are literally crashing the economy. Look at 3 billion. Imagine if it was put into infrastructure, if it was put into health, if it was put into education.
With
Do
proper
you know
administration.
what we will be doing? Even without proper administration, you will see it. When you walk into Luth, my auntie was admitted at Yaba the other time or so. It was like I entered a private ward. Each person, you just pay a little extra. You have somebody by your bedside. It's like Yankee, so once you do like this, the person is by your side.
That's the private wing or the...
That's the private wing.
Okay.
It was literally as if I was in a private ward. And I was asking myself, and I was saying, because here, when they are coming to see you, it's not one doctor coming to see you. You have a consultant, you have 4 regis, you have house officers. So if you are well managed, you are more, and of course, no matter the biggest private hospital in Nigeria, once the case becomes critical, they rush you back to government hospitals. So imagine if 2 billion was put into government hospitals, even if they eat money, how much would the doctors eat? How much would the administration eat? So I'm coming, sorry. Okay. So NNPC has done Nigeria a disservice. For us to now still look back again and with our hands tied, because this school of thought has claimed there's nothing we are going to do. Our hands are going to be tied, and these people are going to do this. The former president in Nigeria said, if you like, let us put in 20 billion. The refineries will never ever work. It looked like a joke. Here we are.
So we need these refineries to work because we need to sell oil outside to get revenue in hard currency that can fund the health sector that you always
government already
pride yourself
what is going on. Can we put in more effort into private partnerships?
Okay, hold on. So now your take is government don't put government money in these refineries anymore?
Yes.
Okay, good. So government sell these refineries. Is that your take?
For me, it's a white elephant project already. Can we leave them? Can we put in efforts into private government, private-owned refineries?
So what happens to these particular facilities?
This is the bride we have been trying to tell to have manners for the past 25 years. We have invested over $25 trillion.
Are you saying sell it?
There are sometimes, as a parent, when your child has refused to have common sense, leave them alone. Leave that refinery for the next 2 years. Yes, let the people that feel that they must milk Nigeria. When there's no milk coming in, and they'll calm down.
I hope you know people draw salaries.
Exactly. Whether it's working or not.
We agree with you. People draw salaries. How many things are they doing? There was a time.
I hope you know whether it's working or not.
I agree with you. There was a time during Goodluck Jonathan's time. There was during Alice Mabeke's time. She came out with a report. 90% of the staff in NNPCL, let's not say 90, let's say 70% of the staff that were employed, their jobs were being done by oil servicing companies. So you employ engineers in NNPC. Let's say you employ 10,000 or they have 5,000 engineers who are supposed to be on the rig. They don't go to the rig. Guess who goes to the rig? An oil servicing company. So why am I paying you fat salary?
Okay.
Why are doctors on strike without salary?
Hold on. Today happens to be that day when we can't get violence. So hey, she's milking it. And we understand. We've had this for a very long time. We see figures being thrown around. Some are way too outrageous that we just know that okay, there's something wrong with this figure. But we also see that government has spent too much money that can be accounted for on these refineries. And on this table, we've said it for a long time. Their spending should stop. In capital letters, should stop. Now, we're still on NNPC and we are talking NNPC earnings. Now, NNPC has posted some 5.4 trillion profit. Now, it unveils 60 billion investments plan. NNPCL has also reported a profit after tax of 5.4 trillion on revenue of 45.1 trillion for the full year 2024, reflecting a strong operational performance and financial resilience. During its earnings call, the company announced a strategic roadmap aimed at sustaining growth and advancing Nigeria's energy transition through 2030. The plan includes a $60 billion investment pipeline focused on expanding oil and gas production and infrastructure across the energy value chain. Financial highlights show an 88% year-on-year growth in revenue and 64% jump in net profit. Earnings per share rose to 27.07. That's also a rise of 64% to be precise. Now, this is NNPCL.
So as you were reading it, you giggled.
I had to pause.
Because do we believe them?
I had to pause. Well, this is where we are right now.
Only
And Biojewelry has a whole lot of skeletons to clear from the...
Yes.
This is not caught, but from the locker room he met there. And this is where we are right now.
Okay.
Yes.
If we are looking at NNPC as... NNPC is the major, you call them the bride. They are the major holders of Nigeria revenue.
Yes.
They are the major pilots of our crude. They facilitate who sells, who gets their share, and what gets back to Nigeria in the long run. Now we are seeing 5-point-something trillion as profits of that huge amount of investment, and investment they look forward to making over 60 billion by 2030. Do you see NNPCL as we speak right now, this is 2025, do you see that particular, it's not a company anymore, do you see that particular sector being able to really, really fund Nigeria budget come 2026? Should they be able to do that without other sectors?
Trust is gone.
Okay, so it says NNPCL made 5.4 trillion profit in 2024 with total revenue hitting 45.1 trillion naira. And our budget, which was 54.9 trillion naira, I mean, if you do the math, I think NNPCL should be able to carry our budget. So I would ask, are these figures true? Can we confirm these figures?
Can they, okay, they should just throw it up and let's do our calculations.
Let's do our calculations, because going by what we are saying, I mean, they should take care of our budget, but sadly, the amount we are even borrowing, or, I mean, how much did the National Assembly approve? Is $500 million just recently? I mean, so you begin to wonder if truly NNPCL has all these juicy plans, investments to, I mean, it looks like they really can take care of the country, but that's not the case. So what's the assurance that if we put 60 billion into NNPC that we will get 5.4 trillion a year? What's the assurance? How did they arrive at this figure? That's why I like to look at how the mathematics behind this.
What was bought, what was sold?
What was bought, what was sold? Did we meet our quota? Because I mean, we are still hovering around 1.5, 1 point this. We're not, though we project 2.5 million barrels per day. That's what we are projecting. Can we meet it? Have we been able to meet it? Yes, we met it at one point. We went to 1.7. But I think it was just about 2 to 3 months. Then we fell back to 1.5 and 1.4 and all that. So how did we arrive at this 5.4? What's the guarantee that we will make this 5.4 come 2026? If we put
should we be making 5? Should NNPC be making 5.4 as profit? That's the first question that came to my mind.
It's mega. We should be making triple of our budget.
Okay. This is where we are right now. And for those that are wondering, NNPCL is quoted. And there are shareholders there. So, hey, congratulations to everybody who is holding on to that particular share. I want to see more. That's we on this table want to see more. Want to see an NNPCL that you might not operate like a Saudi Aramco, but at least let's see that transparency. Let's see that opportunity.
Saudi Aramco.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not going Swift way because she will just tell us.
No, on now. Let's
Sell
talk,
it.
hold on. Let's talk about the fact that our Senate met and we realized that 300 billion.
We don't want to go back.
We are not going back.
We are not going back.
Now, I am a very positive person. I am for NNPC. I just feel that the refineries, because when Obasanjo said it, I was one of the people who said, does he really know what he's saying? This old man, go to bed. But somehow, he has proven to say, look, I know what I'm saying. And I've learned that sometimes when former presidents speak, they don't just speak. They speak from a lot of military intelligence and all that. So I respect that. There are other things NNPCL does that makes money. First, they give out the approvals for companies. They give out the approvals for companies who can drill oil, internal and both in the middle of the water and out there. Offshore, inshore. They also coordinate how much crude you can refine or you drill. They also coordinate how much crude is being shipped. So there are a lot of things that NNPCL, we shouldn't throw that away do, which is fantastic.
We understand.
Yes. And so, is it possible for the 5 trillion? It is. How much is Saudi Arabia making? Our oil in...
Don't compare.
No, I'm not comparing. There's a reason why I'm saying this. Our crude in the world is top 3. It's better than that of America, Russia, because we don't have a lot of sulfur in it, right? Our petroleum products are top notch. And so if we just have a system, it's not a lot that works. Monitor crude, ensure that the right amount is shipped, ensure it's documented, and ensure that the right amount is shipped back into government accounts. Can NNPCL meet this? Yes. In fact, they can triple it. The next thing is but like they said, transparency. Are we ready to do that? Are we ready to put eyes on them? Because they were talking about they want to take it to the next level where everything is now data. It's on data, it's cyber. You can just click when you are drilling in oil. We are not ready for figures and papers. You just put it into the system which cannot be changed, which the president can open, governors can open. It is on the site. With transparency, NNPC can triple this figure.
Okay, so Swift, what you're proposing is administrative functions for NNPC.
Yes.
But if NNPC cannot even provide administrative solutions to their own company, what makes you think they will do that for others?
We have seen that right now there's a shake-up from NNPC. Why? Because they have realized that the whole of Nigeria is tired of them. They're that child that want to kick out of the house at most. And so we are seeing that, in fact, they were saying they wanted to sell, and everybody was in support. So it's an eye-opener for them to realize that, look, your time in the market is almost done. We are seeing what Dangote is declaring as profits. We see how much crude you give to him. We know how much he imports. If Dangote is declaring this much as profit, you are sitting on the bulk of crude, how come you are not declaring up to this? So NNPC, for them to even have declared this, is because of the Dangote refinery, the shake-ups, the Senate committee. That's why they can declare this. If not, last year, how much did they declare? 2023, how much did they declare?
Swift, I think
so
the last part of this statement was what you are supposed to have just said. Simple. And not take us through.
International Day to eliminate violence against all women. Thank you.
We'll think about that. Let's get to our next story before we go on this very short break. Now, pastors, imams must pay tax. That's coming from the federal government. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, has clarified that religious workers, including pastors, imams, and others, must pay tax on salaries received from their religious institutions. Speaking during the podcast interview on Mic On, Oyedele explained that while churches, mosques, and other religious organizations enjoy tax-exempt status under Nigerian law, this privilege does not cover the personal income of individuals employed by them. Oyedele's comments aimed to address public misconceptions surrounding tax obligations in the religious sector. The clarification is part of the government's broader effort to improve tax compliance, increase revenue, and ensure fairness in the system, regardless of sector or employer.
According to my Oga, Shakabaya! Problem, Tiba.
Okay. Now,
there's a reason why I spoke in tongues.
What he's saying right now is called pay. It's as simple as that. It's just pay. So let's not take it out of context. Has he said something wrong?
No.
Okay. SOUQ, has he said something wrong?
We want world global standards. Churches, pastors, imams pay tax in the UK. Standard? They pay it in America. They pay in Dubai. So why should it be different in Nigeria? And this is the reason why Nigeria has not moved forward for a long time. Because, yes, religious houses have been exempted from taxation.
That's why Nigeria has not moved forward.
And now, hold on. Let me be done. 90% of the religious houses in Nigeria, if you look at the edifices they put up, if they were paying tax, they would have been more into building factories, building shopping complexes, building hospitals that are sustainable. Because they know that
some do.
I know they do, but they are not pushing it to the next level. How can one church, for example, cover from Lekki Phase 1 to Marwa or more, have over 50 buildings, 3 duplexes, hotels, you have church conference, people are coming to stay, people are flying in from America, people are coming in for a conference.
Are those hotels not paying tax?
Inside the church.
Yes, those hotels are paying tax.
Inside the church.
Those hotels are paying tax.
I disagree.
Yes, they are.
I disagree. After all, we saw a pastor whose private jet, he was waived. He wasn't paying. Hold on, because we're very emotional in Nigeria.
Hold on.
He wasn't paying tax for his private jet.
Hold on. Was it seized?
It was the next administration who was against him. So for 4 years.
Was it seized?
Hold on.
Who were those in NCAA? Who were those in National Airport Authority? They are the ones who should hold responsibility.
No, it was a government, it was a federal government presidential waiver. He was very good with a particular president who waived the payment of tax on a private jet.
I think you should mention the person.
No, I'm not into mentioning it because I can be sued, and of course I have lawyers in my family, so I'm careful. Hold on.
Okay.
No, let's finish this. Now we are doing this. Now we have seen a church that a whole private jet, he wasn't paying for it. He was parking in the airport. He was traveling around the world, preaching the gospel. Good, but he was not paying. And so, if he's not paying for tax, how will you know that his pure water company is paying? These people get a lot of waivers because pastors, we saw that same president go to his church when he was looking for a re-election, kneeling down, and that guy was giving him waivers. He probably gave him waivers for everything. And so, you're looking at a lot of churches with edifices, with houses, they are not paying. By the time this taxation comes, it will be like UK, where in the daytime, the church is rented from Monday to Friday for clubs or tattoo parlor, and on Sunday, service is being held because guess what? You must pay your tax.
Okay, SOUQ, let's break it down this way. Now, the tax man is saying pastors, imams will pay tax from salaries.
Yes.
Okay, now let me break it down more for you.
And gifts.
Most universities, if not all universities, they pay tax.
I'm not just talking about the universities. I'm talking about housing within.
Hold on, SOUQ.
Yes.
Hotels, it doesn't matter what you call it. They pay tax.
It will be church guest house. It's not a hotel. There's no sign on it. It's church guest house.
Don't the members pay when they get there? The states collect tax. You need to find that out. They do. Definitely they do. Now, for those that don't, you should not hold the state responsible because that is their responsibility to make sure they do that.
How do you collect tax where your vice president is very active in church?
That is your responsibility.
That's why the new reform is coming.
That's why I'm saying good for the new reform. Because look, Nigerians, we are very emotional people. Even you that pays tax. I remember one time in my street, a local government, these local government people went to a particular church, and they had refuse in front of the church, and there was a fine, whether 20,000 or so. Before they could say, people came about God's house, by the time they were done talking to them, then I said, okay, let them park. There is a church. The pastor came and said, my children, God will bless you. And I told everybody, I said, we are being emotional. I said, because if it was an Ifa house, or if it was a Shango house, all of you will not park yourself and say that they should clear that this. I said they offended. They had refuse. They were not parking their refuse. They were not paying for a dustbin because they are a church. Nigerians were emotional. In fact, I know somebody who said that when he said this, that they raised it as a church prayer point, and they said that let us see if he will survive. That anybody that wants to come against the man of God, let's see if he will survive. We know they are emotional.
SOUQ, leave the emotions out of it. No, SOUQ, stop. Now, see, we should not, on the altar of emotions or on the altar of church or no church, drop sensibilities. What is wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter whether it's church, mosque, man, human. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are giving any form of tax, rebates or clearance based on whatever the states decide, the state should be held accountable and responsible for doing that.
I agree.
It doesn't matter who the person is, president or vice president, where you worship or where you don't worship. There are responsibilities to the state, and that we must, as a people, follow through.
But that is what I'm saying.
I don't know if you understand. So now, if there are business ventures run by churches or mosques, they are meant to pay tax.
But they have been waiving it for them.
Who is the person doing who is the person doing that? That person should be held accountable. So I don't know. Let's not stop mentioning church, mosques. Whoever is doing the wrong thing should be called out and held accountable. If there are schools that I might not be able to send my children there, but they are not paying tax based on the profit they make, whoever is doing that waiver should be held accountable. These are the right things we should do. So that way, whoever wants to start that business tomorrow or whoever wants to build the church tomorrow, know that I am responsible to make sure that the local government where I am, that debt thing, whoever is the pastor should be also held accountable.
Chooks.
So let's leave God out of what we can do.
So this is, sorry, before you do this, this is the issue I'm having. I was stating this, that look, this is good news because so things, I can count a couple of things that they have been waivers for and they have not been paid. That's exactly what you are saying. It's exactly what I was saying.
This is even minor. What about people that National Assembly imported how many cars for the members? Did we not see waiver on it?
Before we go to that,
I don't know if you understand. So these are all things that we should come together as people and say, let's stop doing.
Yeah, so I know a church pastor that last month, the members gathered some money and bought him a 2025 particular car, which I cannot call the brand, which is over 100 and something million naira. Thank you. Now they will be taxed on it. This is what we want to see. Okay. That's how the country is going to move. Olumide hasn't spoken, please. Olumide must speak. 1 minute, because he has a lot to say. I'm sorry, Olumide, I took so much time.
Okay, what I would just say that it's a good one. It will promote equity in taxation, because everyone earning an income should pay tax. And there's a particular church, they have this certain hairstyle. We all know that church. They are one of the biggest employers of labor. They employ a whole lot of people working. There are some people whose whole life is just working for the church. Pastors are being paid. They give them a house. They give them a car. They provide everything, travel expenses, all that for them. Where is that coming from? It's coming from somewhere. Now, I go to a church whereby we're actually contributing money to acquire a land of over 500 million naira. Where's that coming from? So, and, they employ a whole lot of people, the keyboardists, the instrumentalists, the singers, the this, the that. They employ a whole lot of people. They should pay tax. That way, there will be equity. That way, there will be more transparency. That way, we've always been talking about non-oil revenue. This is how we're going to achieve this non-oil revenue thing. And it is payee. It is not.
Exactly. It's not church fund. It's not tax on church fund.
Because, most of these churches, they have so many things. If you want to go and, some churches require tests before you get married.
Yes.
And they refer you to their hospital.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for those that are still struggling with issues of spirituality, don't get it twisted. We are just saying, for payee, that's for salaries, and profit-making ventures, we pay tax on those particular things. We'll go on a very short break, and we return still banging. Don't go anywhere.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Literally said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is SOUQ Business Landscape.
Dr. SOUQ A. Adedeji, whose leadership has significantly transformed Nigeria's tax administration, is a distinguished first-class graduate in accounting from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
I firmly believe in the wisdom encapsulated in the statements. Revenue growth is the lifeblood of a nation's economy, providing means to fulfill essential duties to its citizens. These words capture the core principle that will guide us as we navigate the challenging terrain ahead, ensuring that our nation thrives and fulfills its obligation to its citizens. In our pursuit of greater fiscal future, we are determined to align ourselves with President Bola Tinubu's extreme fiscal policy and tax reform committee. This collaboration will enable us to shape the prosperous fiscal landscape that will empower our nation's growth and development.
Born on January 8, 1978 in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Nigeria, Dr. Adedeji is an accomplished accountant and public officer with extensive expertise in corporate taxation and public finance. His journey in public service began in 2011 when he was appointed as Commissioner for Finance in Oyo State. In that capacity, Adedeji introduced transformative financial reforms, most notably the establishment of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) to streamline government revenues and expenditures. In March 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Adedeji as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council (NSCDC). In this capacity, he founded the Nigeria Sugar Institute and spearheaded the Sugar Backward Integration Program, which sought to enhance local sugar production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. In June 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed Adedeji as Special Advisor on Revenue, and by September of that same year, he had ascended to the position of Executive Chairman of FIRS, Nigeria's leading tax authority responsible for the assessment, collection, and management of federal taxes.
The focus will be on these indirect taxes, so that as long as you consume, you have to pay. As long as you have interest on your investment, you have to pay. And this is echoing Mr. President's message that we are not going to tax the seed, but we are going to tax the fruit. The fruit is what we focus on.
Take Nigeria, because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market, or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is SOUQ Business Landscape.
Welcome back. It's still SOUQ Business Landscape, and today is a very beautiful, beautiful Tuesday. Remember, you can join us on all our social media handles. This conversation should not just be here on this table or live here. So hey, go on Facebook, go on X, Twitter, go on TikTok, go on every single one of them and seek out SOUQ Television. Follow us, like, and remember, share. Let's communicate. Let's continue this conversation. It's very necessary. We always appreciate you, and hey, let's keep it going. Now, we talked about the tax. A lot of people will just be wondering and say, what are these people talking about? Don't get it twisted. We just tell you, it's just simple. For those that are pulling salaries, it's just pay, right? It's not, nobody's telling you to come touch your coffers or your mosque or church coffers, so fear not. Now, let's get to agriculture. Farmers are struggling yet now as maize, rice, cassava price drops. Now, harvest is here and the rains has been fair. So what's happening? It's more of price dropping way below what farmers have put in the first place. So that's where the issue is. Now, Nigerian farmers are experiencing one of the most difficult season as price of key staples, maize, rice, cassava, have dropped significantly, leaving many unable to offset soaring production costs. While the Naira has stabilized recently, the cost of agricultural input continued to rise sharply. Fertilizer prices are surged by over 41%, seeds and seedlings have nearly doubled, and herbicides and pesticides have climbed by more than 20%. This escalating expense, now combined with falling commodity prices, have severely squeezed farmers' profit margin. Many are now at risk of cutting back on cultivation or exiting the sector altogether, raising concern about future food scarcity and security. Analysts are warning that unless targeted support and subsidies are provided, Nigeria's agricultural productivity may decline further. Now, let's bring this to this table. Before the farming season started, if we remember and recall, the federal government had a lot of policies, some state government, and a lot of funds were pumped into getting farmers to the field, cultivating, and getting the harvest done. This is where we always have issues when it comes to planning.
Yes.
We still remember that we were shouting and shouting, let's have boards. Let's have commodity boards. Let's have state and federal commodity boards. Let's start having them now, even before the farmer starts harvesting, because by the time the harvest comes, we'll have a lot in the market and prices are going to go down. That is where we are right now. Now, a lot of the subsidies the farmers did not get, fertilizer, herbicide, pesticides, machinery works. Now, if they spend that much and now price of end product harvest is down, how are they going to cope? That is where we are right now. What is the immediate solution you can proffer to this problem?
You know, it's quite funny that, was it some days ago, was it last week that we were still discussing about this, we're complaining about farmers not even going directly, taking their crops directly to the city and leaving the people in the villages and the rural areas. They are not even, supplying that. And people are going, into starvation because the farmers now just want to sell and make profit. They are not even thinking about feeding in the community. And now this is where we are at. It's quite interesting that there are a lot of factors negating all this. Let's not even talk about the broken record of insecurity and all that. So how do we get this solution? It's quite simple. What are the access to grant funds that farmers have? We've always talked about the government coming out with good policies, this, that, but who are the people benefiting from this? And I've always advocated that the only way these grants or whatever can get to the farmers is through the local government, because the local government are the direct administrators of any project, any policies. They are the best people. They are the grassroots. They know where these farms are. So this is where the local government need to step up this time around, because whether we like it or not, local governments are there to serve a particular community. How well are you serving that community? And one of the ways you can serve that community is to make sure that there is no famine in the land. Crops are harvesting. We have a whole lot of crops to go around that community first, then send excess out, because that's the only way we can take care of that community. So if any local government is actually invested in taking care of these people, it should look at farming. That is where we should start from. And there are different ways that a local government can actually generate some form of fund. They can partner.
With the farmers?
They can partner with farmers. They can get grants. They can partner with even international firms. They can come in, partner with them, monitor these things, monitor these farmlands. Have it. Of course, we need data. We can't go without saying we need data. We need data. First of all, we need data. How many farmers do we have in this community? How can we get, what do they need? So what can we do to subsidize some of the fertilizers and all these things they need? How do we partner? Bring in some firms that, or some industry or some manufacturers with fertilizers at a subsidized rate. I even believe we can take it a step further. Now, if farmers can get some sort of grant, fertilizer, and all that will take care of their planting season, all they have to do is just sit back and make sure they harvest. It takes their mind off so many things. There's fertilizer, there's cash, there's machine ready. they can actually do well. They can project. They can even expand. They can decide that, okay, I want to harvest more crops. I want to plant more this. I want to plant because it is readily available for me.
Okay. Now, you've talked about subsidizing fertilizer machineries, chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, and all that, seeds. Let's now look at the harvest itself, because that is where we are right now. A lot of harvest is happening. We're not going to the security side of it. Swift. Before the planting season, the Niger State government said, hey, wherever you are, it doesn't matter who you are, what you speak, who you worship. If you can't farm, come. If you plant, when it's time to harvest, we will buy off you. Right now, if the farmer is shouting, which means that buying off is where we're having a problem. Should we start seeing government come in? Because government should also be able by now to say, okay, we have built 12 silos in Meduguri. We have built 15 storage facilities in Ebonyi. If those are absent, which means the farmer doesn't have a place to even store in the first place, so he needs to sell out as fast as possible to avoid his product rotten, getting spoiled, or expiring in his hands. How can we get boards to buy off from the farmer and not a middleman that will cheat him?
So first of all, we must realize that there are some products that you cannot store. Tomato, pepper, they had limited times. Guiding eggs. Yes, when you put all those things and you start to store them for too long, they lose the original taste, and so they become like the ones we're running away from that are sold in Europe. But let's leave that aside. The first thing the government needs to look at is insurance. You see, insurance is done in a lot of more developed countries when it comes to agriculture, because you know that agriculture is like the stock market. It either goes up or it goes down, and anything can happen. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, a lot of our farmers, at least the last time I was at an insurance summit, they were talking about insuring, movie sector, health sector. More health sector they have embraced. Schools, facilities they have embraced, offices have embraced, banks, but the farmers have not really done a total embrace because they look at the monies that are coming in, and many times, let's say in a planting season of 10, it is 1 out of 10 that you have these shortfalls. So when these shortfalls happen, especially in a country like Nigeria, then the government needs to put in insurance. They also need to put in a lot of subsidy. So right now, what we need from the government is subsidy, because these people, if you put them out of business, it means that if they don't have enough money, because the reason why they are crying out and they are complaining now is the money to buy seedlings for the next planting season is looking almost impossible, because if you do not make your profit from this one, how do you get the next seedlings to plant for the next one? So that's what they are complaining about. So subsidy and direct aid. Direct aid is what we need right now. That is like what he talked about, what Olumide talked about, where you have local government who are closer to these people than from the federal level, where you can go to them and say, okay, Swift, and we know that you are having this problem. How many cassava, this thing do you plant normally? And I say 500. Okay, government cannot give you 500. We can give you 250. What can you make out of 250? That's the direct aid that is needed now, and which is where local government come in. The local government really needs to sit up at this time. Any excess funding must be put into agriculture, because anything that happens to agriculture this year, it's not just going to be this year. It's going to be a ripple effect of what is going to happen next year because of that. Another thing the government has to look out for is they need to create a new grant before the end of the year where farmers can easily pull funds from. Because if local government is giving you 250 seedlings, guess what? And your land requires 500. You need to find where to get the remaining 250. And so there should be some grants or easy loans that farmers can, okay, if we take from this, then we can do this.
Okay, add this to it. Have government built, what government, private initiative, any of this side of the government, have we built enough storage facilities? Do we even have?
We have enough? At least we know we have for rice.
Where?
The pyramid.
Where?
We
Which
have
pyramid?
Which pyramid? Sorry, we have for rice. Can I tell you?
Where are the silos?
Hold on now. Okay. When the Tinubu administration came in, remember the joke we all cracked, that all they knew how to do was give rice. You go to university, say, well, we'll give you 500 bucks. You go to local government meeting. So they actually do have a storage for rice. Federal government that goes into millions of bags that can be kept. Okay. We know we actually at rice here.
Hold on.
So let's tick that.
Swift, hold on. Now, the last time I went to Abuja, before you get to Gwagwalada, there is a silos that was built. It's a new one.
Okay.
But that was built for just the people around that area. We're asking ourselves, Niger State alone, Bida alone, half of Bida alone will fill that silos.
Okay.
So the question is, do we have enough storage facilities? Because the man that is planting rice, by the time he harvests his rice, where is he going to store it? That's the major issue.
Now that's where the local government comes in. That's what he said. I do not know why. Hold on. I do not know why I'm planting rice in Benin, and I need to look for how to get it to Kogi or to Abuja. There should be somewhere in Benin. There is a silo, so that's where the local government comes in. And when is the local government, you have started to build something, it's not enough. Then you crowd to state government. There's no local government chairman now who will say, look, we are building a silos of a capacity of 2,000. Our farmers usually do between 1.5, but so that as there's an improvement. But we are stuck here. We need 300 million or we need 200 million, and the state government will not be emotional. Private businesses like the Dangotes, you know, the banks will not be emotional to give you something because of how important you are. So it all comes to them failing. Like, another thing we need to talk about is strategy, because right now it means that from this fourth shortfall, a lot of crops that are not supposed to be planted in certain seasons must also be planted so that there will be no starvation for next year. So the local government and federal government needs to also work on irrigation. They need to work on, other ways to fertilizers. They need to also work on agricultural machineries to help.
A lot of monies were spent on machines.
We
saw importation of a lot of those machines.
We also saw
a lot of those machines are stacked somewhere in some state houses as we speak. A lot of those machines are stacked somewhere in local governments as we speak.
Let's not also forget that we were supposed to import cows for certain...
well, that is some other initiatives that we are still arguing. Now, we are trying to see how can we sort the issue of the farmer for now.
Yes.
We have seen a lot of... When it comes to contract, it's always fast. Just like the importation of tractors and harvesters, that was fast. Why are we not seeing construction of storage facilities? Because if we are looking forward to being able to feed a nation and run away from food insecurity, we have to prepare for the end product, which is the harvest. We are not preparing for the harvest. It just looks as if we're just paying lip service to the agricultural thing, pumping in money. We're not expecting to get a harvest. Now the harvest is on us. How can we solve that problem? You've talked about grants, you've talked about trying to see how we can meet the farmer halfway. By the end of the day, by the time the farmer, he still needs to harvest. So where is he going to push those products to? Well, so let's just push it to the market, and that will crash the entire price.
So what I'm also thinking, yes, I buy your idea of silos. I also buy the idea of encouraging farmers into agro-processing and value addition, whereby they convert maize, corn, and all that into packaged products.
For the small farmer?
Well, that is where they have to partner with local governments.
I haven't bought palm kernel in over a year, but I eat banga soup almost every weekend or twice in a month.
Someone
I
does
did
that.
And that's what he's talking about. So those products that you know, like palm kernel, in a week, palm kernel has spoiled. Once it has been pulled down, at most 1.5 weeks. And if you even leave for 1.5 weeks, the oil you are getting out of it will not be as strong. So those things we need to look at more. I know Okomo has been doing that. Even palm wine. Those are things that easily get bad. But it's just a more increase. Like you said, there are a lot of people who are working. I know how Okomo Oil is one of the most, I'm sorry for calling brands, and many of these other brands in Edo, from NIFO, and all this started from NIFO, which is a federal government research. But the problem with federal government things is, where we are supposed to be seeing more, we are seeing less. As of 1996, when my mom was burying my grandfather, there was already refined palm wine in bottles. And I remember my father's people coming in from Lagos, and they were in shock because they had never seen it before. But this was Benin, that wasn't half as, tush as Lagos. And one of my uncles took that bottle and said, oh, I'm going to Lagos. This is a business plan for me. And he collected the guy's number in NIFO. But here we see now other people who are doing this are making money and declaring profit. And we are not seeing NIFO declaring profit. We are seeing, I'm sorry to use Okomo Oil and other oil companies in Benin declaring profits. They are even on the stock market. And we are not seeing NIFO, who is their father company, who is owned by federal government, who federal government is pumping millions.
Is a research institute.
We agree, but they were also selling these things. I lived in Benin. NIFO was selling. You go to NIFO, you buy crates you buy kegs of palm oil. So what is happening?
I think one of the things that is negating this is importation, because most of the things we consume, or most of the things that are even used to process what we consume, are imported. Sugar and all that, even the palm oil and all that they were talking about, Gary is imported. So I think...
No, oil is not imported. Palm oil is not imported.
We import palm oil.
Hold on.
At least the one from Okomu is not imported.
Okay, yes. Even Gary.
And I remember going to a shop there, and they had another oil, and a particular woman said if it's not Benin, and I agreed because I bought one oil that was bitter. The imported oil is bitter. It has a bitter aftertaste.
Okay, thank you.
You buy oil from East. It's not bitter.
You can even differentiate that. But the people who use these things to make other foods and all that, they might not be able to. So what I'm basically saying is until we start to first of all, put some form of tariff on some of the things that we are actually producing in Nigeria to curtail and stop this. Then also encourage local manufacturers to partner with these farmers. I mean, if you're in the business of making beverages, you need sugar, you need some of these things. If you partner, this big company, if you partner with these farmers, you give them a large sum, and you know that for next year, what you are going to, the amount of sugar you are going to get is going to be large. These farmers will go into their farms and work. And that has been taken care of.
Okay. I want to say thank you to everyone that has been part of this production. Remember, if we don't farm, we starve. There are no two ways about it. That particular person you call a small farmer there, he's contributing a lot to making sure this country moves forward. And just like the table have said, every company, if you are importing some raw materials that we can source locally, yes, especially farm produce, please, let's source. Let's get the produce off the farmer and states of take. Please, we appeal to you. The farmer should not, at the end of the day, be the one taking the negative on the wrong side of the ladder. My name is SOUQ John Rogers SOUQ. Remember, nobody's more Nigerian than you. Let's grow this economy together.
All right, I wanted to remind you that today is still the day to eliminate violence against all women and the girl child, and of course the handsome boy child out there. So if you see anybody, trying to ruffle a woman today or a young boy, please step in. My name is Swift and Derrito. Have a beautiful day.
And I'm Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of it.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Literally said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy, see something. This is SOUQ Business Landscape.
Dr. SOUQ A. Adedeji, whose leadership has significantly transformed Nigeria's tax administration, is a distinguished first-class graduate in accounting from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and he currently serves as the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
I firmly believe in the wisdom encapsulated in the statements. Revenue growth is the lifeblood of a nation's economy, providing means to fulfill essential duties to its citizens. These words capture the core principle that will guide us as we navigate the challenging terrain ahead, ensuring that our nation thrives and fulfills its obligations to its citizens. In our pursuit of greater fiscal future, we are determined to align ourselves with President Bola Tinubu's Extreme Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee. This collaboration will enable us to shape the prosperous fiscal landscape that will empower our nation's growth and development.
Born on January 8, 1978 in Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Nigeria, Dr. Adedeji is an accomplished accountant and public officer with extensive expertise in corporate taxation and public finance. His journey in public service began in 2011 when he was appointed as Commissioner for Finance in Oyo State. In that capacity, Adedeji introduced transformative financial reforms, most notably the establishment of the Treasury Single Account (TSA) to streamline government revenues and expenditures. In March 2021, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Adedeji as Executive Secretary of the National Sugar Development Council, NSCDC. In this capacity, he founded the Nigeria Sugar Institute and spearheaded the Sugar Backward Integration Program, which sought to enhance local sugar production and reduce reliance on foreign imports. In June 2023, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed Adedeji as Special Advisor on Revenue, and by September of that same year, he had ascended to the position of Executive Chairman of FIRS, Nigeria's leading tax authority responsible for the assessment, collection, and management of federal taxes.
The focus will be on these indirect taxes, so that as long as you consume, you have to pay. As long as you have interest on your investment, you have to pay. And this is echoing Mr. President's message that we are not going to tax the seed, but we are going to tax the fruit. The fruit is what we focus on. So all those things, when we have this holistic process, it will be captured, and that the vision is to have a progressive tax, that if you earn more, you pay more, and if you earn less, you will not pay.
Under his leadership, FIRS exceeded its 2023 revenue target of 11.55 trillion naira. As chairman of FIRS, Dr. Adedeji implemented a performance-based system aligning with the service's new slogan, simplifying tax, maximizing revenue.
Dr. SOUQ Adedeji has done incredibly well in transforming and reforming the tax processes and procedures in Nigeria. In a little over a year being at the helms of the affairs of the tax body in Nigeria, we have seen a significant improvement in revenue generation. His policy of not crumbling business with taxation is something that also needs to be applauded. SOUQ Adedeji philosophy is taxing fruits and not the seed, and taxing prosperity, not poverty. Because if you look at the fiscal landscape of Nigeria in the past 10 years, you find that businesses have struggled to live, and that has led to the exit of so many businesses from Nigeria. But with this new reform, we're saying that the businesses will profit from the reform processes, and that will mean more business for Nigeria. We will have a lot of foreign inflow in terms of foreign direct investment that will actually drive the process of economic growth for the country. And I think he has done so well, and he deserves a kudos, especially for taking the giant stride to restructure FRS for efficiency, for accountability, and for value for money.
He has also made the welfare of the staff a top priority, fostering a positive working environment that has brought smiles to the faces of FIRS employees nationwide. Supporters of the tax reform bills
Well, thank you very much indeed. My name is Stephen Kola Balogun. I happen to be a lawyer, and should I call myself a pseudo-politician? Not quite a politician, but I've served in government before, and I'm delighted to be here. Well, thank you very much. Well, yes, is it my family or the wider family? I mean, like I said, I'm the son of Chief Dr. Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Like I said, he was a former politician, a frontline politician. He was the General Secretary of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, later National Council of Nigerian Citizens. He was the General Secretary of that party for about 8 years. From there, he was appointed by SOUQ to become a federal minister. He was initially a federal minister without portfolio. Consequently, after that, he became acting minister for labor, social services, and then he became Nigeria's first federal minister for information in 1956. He held that portfolio to 1958. Thereafter, he resigned from government. He had this agreement with the party. And Tafawa Balewa felt that he was a useful politician that could be sent to Ghana. And he went to Ghana to find out what was. Ghana was a bit ahead of us in terms of politics at the time. I think it's fair to say they got independence just before us. And Tafawa Balewa wanted someone to understudy to find out what we're doing. So he sent Kola Balogun there. Initially, he was commissioner, and later, when we gained independence in 1960, he became high commissioner. Shortly after that, when we became independent, he yearned to come home. He wanted to take part in the new political atmosphere at the time. He asked the Prime Minister to relieve him, to let him come back, and he did come back home. And immediately he took up the position of being chairman of the National Shipping Line. That was a position he held on to until the military struck in 1966. But even then, when the military did strike in 1966, he still continued. I think General Debayo of blessed memory invited him to join his cabinet, and he served as a commissioner for about 3 years or more. I think he was commissioner for health and was commissioner for education. Later, he also became chairman of the sketch group of companies as well. And that was about it. I think after his stint in government, he decided to go and do a PhD at the University of Ibadan. And then he went back into private legal practice. And then he started this agitation for the creation of Osun State. He and a few others set up the movement. He was the chairman of the movement. And then to the glory of God, in 1991, Osun State was created. And that's it.
Tell us about mommy.
Well, yes, my mother. Well, in those days, the women were not so much in the forefront, But my mother has been my bedrock. She stood by me, and she has backed me in most of the things I've set out to do, And she's still alive. She's 89 this year, and she's still doing well, and she's still
and your wife
going
and
strong.
The kids?
Yes, my children. Yes, I have 3 girls, 3 daughters. My oldest is 31. She studied at King's College London. She did reasonably well. She got a 7th class upper. Proud of her. She's an art curator today. And I have twin girls as well who are also in university now, that they haven't graduated yet. One of them is in Oxford University. She's studying history and politics. And the other is in Cambridge University. She's studying human, social, and political sciences. So, yeah. I did. I mean, my father, Chief Kolawole Balogun of blessed memory. Yes, he was in the first cabinet in the First Republic, the first ever cabinet Nigeria had. and he served as the Federal Minister of Information and Research. As a matter of fact, he happened to be Nigeria's first information minister. Later, T.O.S. Benson, of course, became the independent Nigeria's first information minister, but independent Nigeria. But Nigeria's first ever information minister happened to be Chief Kolawole Balogun, God bless his memory. No, I didn't. I took an opposite route from my father. My father went into politics straight immediately after he finished his education, and then he now ventured into law a little bit later. I decided to look at things differently. I thought that after academics I should practice law a bit, and that's what I've been doing. But at some point, I think that was about 2011, I was called upon to serve in the Osun State government as a commissioner, and I took up that opportunity, and I enjoyed myself. Well, I am in the sense that I'm 65 years old now, and I think it's fair to say that we belong to, well, I won't say the first set, but one of those who benefited from Nigerian education. I schooled here. I went to secondary school in the West. I went to the University of Ife. Went to the Nigerian Law School. And I think it's fair to say that all the schools at that time were of high quality, produced top quality students who went on to make names for themselves, not just here in Nigeria, but also abroad. I think we still do that now, even though the standard of education has dropped. The sad thing about it is that Nigeria could have been a lot better in terms of the potential, because Nigeria does have a lot of potential. We do have very brilliant young men and women, you know, and I just think that if we had invested more in education, that we could have, the sky would have been the limit, actually. Well, my take on this is that it's the system of law itself. As a young lawyer, I experienced a few challenges myself, and I think one of the obvious challenges is the appeal structure. It's too easy to appeal against judgments. At the same time, when you file actions in court, there are no penalties for costs. In other words, I can file a frivolous action. I could insult you, as an example, and then you could sue me. And I say to myself, well, I'm going to eke it out. I'm going to take it. You're going to have to take me all the way to the Supreme Court. That doesn't make sense. That's not fair. On the other hand, I could also file a frivolous application against you. And then, filing a frivolous application, I could call you something you are not. I could defame you. And in so doing, you expect at least that once you prove your case, that I will be made to pay the penalties for filing frivolous applications. But that doesn't happen. And then, of course, the conditions of the judges. I mean, the judges are still writing longhand. They do trials, they sit there, they listen to witnesses, give evidence, and they have to write all these things down longhand. So there's so many challenges that has hampered the progress of law. And there hasn't been enough investment, I must say. Well, I agree with that, and I'm going to give an example as to how that I think we could possibly do that. Now, the Supreme Court hears everything. It's the final court in Nigeria, so they're going to hear issues related to criminal law, civil matters, constitutional matters, as you know, all these matters that's got to do with elections, so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, when we have an election cycle, the legal system slows down because the judges are hampered. They're too busy listening to the various appeals from the various states and the federal government to do with the elections. So as a consequence, the other matters to do with shipping, banking, criminal law are put on the back burner. I think we need what you call a constitutional court, whereby which the judges in the Supreme Court are divided. So you have those judges whose responsibility it is entirely to deal with constitutional matters, and then you have another set whose duty will be to deal with shipping, banking, civil matters, criminal matters, and so on and so forth. So I believe it's high time Nigeria has a constitutional court to try and aid the Supreme Court with the workload they have, which is, quite frankly, quite a bit. Well, Nigerians, with respect, are very brilliant, very intelligent, and they are very aware. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a tailor, you're a driver, you're a lawyer, engineer, they are quite well informed. And the truth of the matter really is that this is the longest republic we've had. This republic started in 1999, and this is 2025, so 26 years. Nigeria's never had a republic this long. But the main flaw is the one you just mentioned. The fact that that constitution that was bequeathed to us by the military in 1999 was never really approved by the people. Now, that doesn't make sense, and that's unfair. In fairness, we ought to be able to look at the constitution, improve upon it, and put our own input into it. Now, there's a way around that, and I've always believed, many people oppose this, but I'm of the view that what Nigerians need to have is a referendum. Have a referendum to ask the Nigerian people whether they want to persist with the 1999 constitution, or do they want to drop a new one. If the answer to that question is yes, we want to drop a new constitution, then that puts paid to the 1999 constitution, and then you can now have a system, a constituent assembly, whatever the case may be, where people will sit around the table and fashion out a new constitution. If the people say no, that means they've indirectly approved the 1999 constitution, and then we continue with it. But what we can't do is continue having this debate, these arguments as to whether the 1999 constitution has been approved by Nigerians or not, because it has not been. So I think the way around that is to ask the Nigerian people through a referendum, asking them whether they want to persist with this constitution. If they say no, then we have a new one. If they say yes, we continue with the old one. And that ends the debate. Every system has its merits. Every system has its advantages and disadvantages. To some extent, the presidential system of government has the advantage. It has the advantage in the sense that it has brought government nearer to the people. So the people of Osun, from where I'm from, for instance, now, have their own state. Same thing can be said, it's been replicated across the country. However, the drawbacks, the disadvantage is the fact that it's extremely expensive. Now, look at Nigeria, for instance, now. We have 36 state governments. So that means we have 36 governments in Nigeria. If you add the government of Abuja, if you add the federal government, that's 38. Now, each one of these governments have some form of legislature, judiciary, an executive as well, local government, civil service. It's too expensive. Look, in America, where we borrowed this system from, the states came together to form a union. This is totally different. We are doing it the opposite way. So we've had a structure that we're now going back. So at the end of the day, many of the state governments are still dependent on the federal government. And as a consequence, the kind of progress we ought to be making, we're not quite making it. So I personally, and this is a personal view because others would disagree, I would prefer that we reduce the size of government by having some kind of regional structure. And I believe that that will reduce the burden of governments. And if we can reduce the burdens of government, we can use this money to do many other things. And I also think it will also improve standards as well. Not just standards of government or parliamentary standards or whatever the case may be, but there'll be less people involved in the political system. And that would help us a great deal. Well, I think it's fair to say that since 1999, we haven't had any new state creation. I know there's been agitation for the creation of states, but there hasn't been any. The process for creating a state is quite cumbersome. It's not easy. I think it's in Section 8 and 9 of the Constitution. I don't think it's something we should be looking at. I think, like I said to you earlier, I think we should be trying to reduce the number of states, and I think some kind of regional structure whereby which we can monitor better what's going on rather than having more states. So I personally would not encourage the creation of more states, no. In the 1950s, we had 3 regions, if I'm correct. Those regions were the West, the East, and the North. We had the colony of Lagos, but if I'm right, I think it was the Macpherson Constitution, I think it is, I'm not too sure, that now put Lagos under the Western region. Now, when Lagos was placed under the Western region, lots of people were not happy about that. I remember my father was in the NCNC. The NCNC people were not particularly pleased, neither were the NPC, because they felt that Lagos belonged to everybody. Like you said, lots of people from different walks of life, different tribes, different backgrounds, and all schooled. I mean, Zik schooled in Lagos. He went to MBHS. So it was the issue was sent to London to arbitrate. I think it was Oliver Littleton that arbitrated over the matter. And it was decided that Lagos should stand on its own, that Lagos should not be merged with any of the regions. And that was how Lagos was able to free itself from the shackles of the Western region. It's fair to say that the position of the NCNC was actually argued in London by my father. That's why I'm quite familiar with this. But talking about Lagos, when the military, after that, we had what you called a minister for Lagos. I think there was Ribadu, and I think there was one other person, but I think it was Yaradua, not the same Yaradua, but his father. And then later after that, when the military struck, they created the state of Lagos. So the issue of giving Lagos special status has more or less been taken over by events. Lagos is a state, and as a state, it's still home to different people with different backgrounds, from different tribes, and it's thriving. I think it's fair to say that Lagos is probably the most prosperous state in the country, and it's just a question of its continuing with good governance and improving the strides they have made. Once again, let's go back to the past. We had what we used to call the House of Chiefs, wasn't it? And in those House of Chiefs, many of the members of the House of Chiefs were people, were traditional rulers, chiefs from different backgrounds, and they had a say in the running of the affairs of state. It's like it was more or less akin to the House of Lords. So it wasn't necessarily the chamber whereby which the activities of day-to-day governance took place, but they could always refer issues to them. And I think that if we change our structure of governance, and if, that's a big if, then yes, we can have something like that. We can have a second chamber, which is more or less advisory in nature, similar to the House of Lords, whereby which we will have obas and chiefs and people of influence who will be able to advise government from day to day from of the experiences and the way forward, but not necessarily binding. I think that's important. Their decisions won't necessarily be binding on us, but at least they'll be able to share their views and experiences with the people. Well, that's a big issue. I was commissioner for youth in Osun about 10 years ago under Rauf Aregbesola, and it was an issue we took quite seriously. In Osun State, we had quite a number of youths who are unemployed. And the governor thought, what can I possibly do to give them something to do, to keep them employed? So he created what we call the Osun State Youth Empowerment Scheme. Now, under the State Youth Empowerment Scheme, unemployed youths were given particular tasks in states. Help us sweep the roads. Some were part-time lecturers. Some were doing all sorts of things. They were given a stipend. It wasn't a full-blown salary. Well, the salary, although the stipend was enough to keep them to be able to buy things, to be able to buy themselves drinks and food, and kept them occupied until they could find themselves a job. And I think the federal government could follow that kind of scheme, set up a youth empowerment scheme whereby which unemployed youths are given things to do. There's so many things that need to be done in Nigeria. You know, there's so many gaps whereby which the youths can help do that. In the interim, while they find themselves something more gainful or something more permanent. So it's a question, it's for government to do. It's for government to think of a way of helping out the youths. And of course, there should be partnerships, a partnership between the government and private enterprise to try and encourage them to take on more of our youths, and not necessarily those who have schooled abroad, who they think are probably the best in terms of employment. No, we have many here who can do a good job as well. Sustaining democracy is about discipline. It's about the people being disciplined. It's about those who rule us being disciplined. I started out by telling you that this is the longest government we've had. It's the longest republic we've had. We've had democracy now since 1999, 26 years. If you go back to the days of independence, there's been no republic that has been this long. So it shows that the people have embraced democracy. They've come to it's part of us now. They've come to enjoy it. Yes, there are hiccups in terms of the fact that we could do a lot better in terms of how we implement things. But in terms of the people yearning for democracy and imbibing it, I think we've done very well. And what we just need to do is just to try and perfect it. One of the ways, like I said much earlier, is to perhaps take a second look at the Constitution, see where areas where we can improve, and try and make people happy, and at the same time reduce the cost of governance. But I don't think democracy is going anywhere. I think it's here to stay.
Eko Atlantic has become Nigeria's most sought-after city for its high-end infrastructure, prestige, and well-planned city layout, as reflected in an 8-lane boulevard, about 13 internal bridges, underground cables, and green footprints defined by over 30,000 trees. Additionally, having a building in the city has become a trend among the so-called big boys, as was the case with Old Ikoyi, Victoria Garden City, popularly called VGC, Osborne Foreshore, and now Banana Island. In this special report, Bayo Olaoye states that this talk of I belong and the prestige mentality has also spread to the big firms. Before now, Kingsway and Ozumba Mbadiwe used to say that Victoria Island were the go-to locations for high-rise office buildings. These locations are home to iconic developments such as Kingsway Towers, Heritage Palace, Fanfare Towers, the Wings and the Waves, among others, making them Nigeria's equivalent of Silicon Valley. The Eco-Atlantic City was modeled after the skyscraper district of Manhattan Island in New York City. It has become the new destination for big-ticket corporate firms which are building or relocating their new headquarters to the 10-square-kilometer city, rising off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos. The city is attracting investment interests in both residential and commercial real estate, the latest being MTN Nigeria, preparing to build a new headquarters. MTN is coming on the heels of First Bank, which recently turned the turf to build a 40-floor corporate head office, making the city's most iconic development so far. Prior to this courageous and ambitious entry into Eco City by MTN, First Bank, Dangote Group, and the Embassy of the United States of America have taken positions there, developing a new head office and a diplomatic facility respectively. Much earlier, a co-development company had occupied the city as the developer of the Azuri Towers, offering both residential and commercial facilities for high clients and corporate bodies. Arkland Property Investment and Oak Homes are also in the city, developing A&A Towers simultaneously. These are the residential developments that will be standing on the 22nd floor and the 33rd floors respectively. Other developments are the Pan-African Towers by Periwinkle Residences, Eco Pearl with Champagne Tower and Eco Pearl Black Tower, Amni Towers and Ani International Petroleum Development Company, and Louisville Towers by Total Energy Staff Cooperative and Multipurpose Society. Louisville will comprise 300 residential homes spread between 2 towers, a world-class sporting center and a club, retail outlets and other facilities. It is designed to employ modern technology to achieve smart living and high standards. Eco-Atlantic is an exclusive luxury city with superior infrastructure that appeals to the kind of investors we have seen in the city so far.
In April 1960, just months before Nigeria's independence, a 26-year-old ascended one of the most revered thrones in Yoruba land. His name, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona. His reign, almost 65 years. His legacy, a modernized crown, a globalized culture, and an unwavering voice for truth. Born 10th of May 1934 into the royal house of Anikinaya to Prince Rufai Adetona Adeleke and Ajibabi Adetono, née Onashile. Sikiru Kayode Adetono's royal destiny was set early. He attended Baptist School, Eriko, in 1943, Ogbere United Primary School, and Ansarudin School, Ijebu-Ode, before enrolling at Oluiwa College, now Adeola Odutola College, from 1951 to 1956. He later worked briefly in the audit department of the Western region in Ibadan before leaving for the United Kingdoms in 1958 to study accountancy. But history had other plans. On the 2nd of April 1960, he was installed as the 58th Awujale of Ijebu land, taking the regnal name Ogbagba Agbotewole II. Young, confident, and stepping into leadership just as the new Nigeria was emerging, marking the beginning of one of the longest and the most consequential reigns in Nigeria's history. Despite his demanding role, Oba Adetono maintained close family ties. He was married and blessed with children, who were raised in the blend of royal tradition and modern education that defined his worldview. Known to be a devoted family man, he valued privacy in personal matters, but ensured his children had opportunities for education both within and outside Nigeria. Socially, he was at ease in multiple wards, equally comfortable in palace courts, university lecture halls, diplomatic gatherings, or informal community events. He cultivated friendships across business, politics, and academia, yet was deeply rooted in his hometown, often mingling with his people during festivals and communal projects. The coup that saved a king. But destiny tested him. In the early 1980s, a government commission of inquiry moved against him. Suspension and deposition loomed. The order was to take effect in early 1984. Then came 31st December 1983. A military coup swept away the civilian administration, and with it, the threat to his throne. The Awujale returned more respected, more resolute. Beyond royal ceremonies, Oba Adetono built a reputation as a monarch unafraid to challenge authority. He spoke plainly on governance, justice, and public accountability. In 2016, he institutionalized those ideas by endowing a 250 million naira professorial chair in governance at Olabisi Onabanjo University, OOU, the first of its kind by a Nigerian traditional ruler. It was a deliberate investment in shaping ethical leadership for generations to come. The Oju Dioba Festival long predicted his reign, but under Adetono, it became an international spectacle, a celebration of Ijebu identity, Yoruba elegance, interfaith harmony, and cultural soft power. It drew politicians, captains of industry, global tourists, and the diaspora to Ijebu-Ode each year, making it both a cultural statement and an economic engine. Adetono presided over a kingdom of religious plurality, Islam, Christianity, and traditional worship, often using his platform to advocate tolerance. Though a devout Muslim and president of the United Muslim Council, he regularly attended Christian events and encouraged interfaith harmony. And now, the final chapter. On 13th July 2025, Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetono Ogbagba Agbotewole II passed away at the age of 91. He was buried according to Ijebu customs in solemn rites, shielded from public view. attention now turns to succession and the weight of following one of Nigeria's longest-serving traditional rulers. Oba Sikiru Kayode Adetona reigned across 3 Nigerias: the colonial twilight, the start of military rule, and the promises and failures of democracy. He proved that a throne could be modern without losing its roots, bold without losing its identity, and proud without closing its doors. His voice will echo in the university lectures he inspired, the festival he globalized, the cultural pride he nurtured, and in the personal values he instilled in his family. As Ijebuland turns the page, one question lingers: whether or not the next Awujale will match relevance with integrity and tradition with transformation, following the path of the past hero. Grace Komolafe, SOUQ Perspective.
To start with, let me give some introduction to myself. As you said, I was a former commissioner of finance. I was a commissioner of finance during the Ganduja's administration from June 2015 to October 2018. I was there for 28 months, okay, as a commissioner of finance. And I had been with Bayero University, Kano, before I was appointed commissioner of finance. Still, I'm a professor of accounting in the university, but I double as a commissioner of taxation, because at the Prince Abubakar Audu University, Ayumba, Kogi State, there was a chair that had been vested there by the Federal Revenue Service in 2011. And they invited applicant for that chair, and I was the successful person, successful applicant. So I still occupy that chair, even though the chair is not functioning. But I got the privilege of serving as the elected or selected professor of taxation in that university. So I am in the area of taxation. I have done a lot of researches in that. And then I serve as the Federal Commissioner of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. So it was on 15th November that our tenure came to an end, from 2018 to 2024 November. So you can see that I have been involved at various levels on the issue of fiscal policy, tax revenue generation, tax revenue utilization. So this the reform that we are talking about was brought about by the president with a view to maybe perfecting the tax system in the country. So he formed a committee to advise him as to how to go about coming up with very good national fiscal policy, not just tax policy, and then how to reform the taxes in the country to make them better, so that Nigeria can compete with other economies that are advanced in the area of utilization of taxation as a means of growing up the economy and achieving sustainable development. So this I know, the process and all that have gone into this project of reform. So bills were developed out of the report of that committee appointed by the president under the chairmanship of Mr. Tayo Oyedele. And for the first time in the history of forming a committee in Nigeria, we had a committee that the president has given the power of implementation. So it's not just about recommending something to him. It is about coming up with a report which will be convincing to him, and if he's convinced, he will ask them to be involved in the implementation of the recommendation of the report. So I think that is why the committee just presented the proposed bill to him without taking this bill to the public domain. Because of the trust that he has on the committee, he just sent the bill to the National Assembly for consideration, for passage into law. And in the bill, they even gave deadline as to when the bill to be passed into law. They expected that the National Assembly would deliberate on this committee, on this bill, to the extent that the bill will be passed into law before 1st January 2025. So that by 1st January 2025, the content or the provision in these bills will begin to be implemented by the government. 4 bills were developed and proposed. And then, unlike the expectation, the comment you made that people are more concerned about the administrative, tax administrative bill. What the bill that is generating the highest controversy is the Nigerian tax bill. That is the bill that has made provision for repealing about 11 taxes that are currently existing, including the VAT itself, including petroleum profit tax, including personal income tax, including companies income tax, and other taxes like capital gain tax, casino tax, etc., etc. And then about 14 laws that are related to taxation, including laws that are designed to exercise control over consumption, over production. They made substantial amendment on them, and then take the amended aspect, amended part of those laws into the Nigerian tax bill, which means that the laws have suffered from, or they have enjoyed consequential amendment. So this bill, which is expected to become an act by 1st January, is now becoming an amalgamation of most of the taxes that Nigeria is using now. Most of the taxes, those that have been repealed, part of them, part of the provision in them have been injected into the Nigerian tax bill. Those that have been considered for consequential amendment, they are also captured in the Nigerian tax bill. And then they made a lot of paragraphing, creating part, creating section, etc., etc., to the extent that the content of that bill is about 220 pages. So you have to develop the stamina. You have to be used to reading before you read everything from the beginning to the end. And if you don't do that, you may miss a lot of things. And you may be talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. And unfortunately, that is what is happening in the public domain. You hear people talking ignorantly about the content of the bill. They just listen to news, radio, television. When they hear the comment of somebody, then they will amplify that comment ignorantly without reading the bill and understanding the content of the bill. So that is the one that is enjoying the greatest controversy. Of course, others too are enjoying some controversy. The Nigerian tax administration bill, because it is in that bill that the new sharing formula for VAT was stated. VAT have been extensively explained or described in the Nigerian tax bill, but how to share the proceeds of VAT have not been captured there. that provision could only be seen when you go to Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, which is the bill that has been designed to show how the tax authorities in the country at the federal level, state level, and local government should be relating with one another so as to avoid conflict, so as to avoid a situation whereby all of them may go to a taxpayer with different dimension of claim. The bill was designed to achieve this main objective, to resolve the conflict that has been happening between tax authorities or even revenue generating agencies. Because when you talk about the revenue, we shouldn't be talking just about the tax revenue. You have revenue that custom is collecting. That bill, second bill, is saying that custom should no longer be involved in collecting revenue. It is the Nigerian revenue service that should be collecting. Custom, let them take care of their responsibility of checking item coming in, item going out, which is another area of clash. These custom people, they are used to collecting money. Okay, and they are used to, many of them, a lot of allegations are there as to how they are collecting this money, how they are not remitting the correct amount. So now, collection of custom duty will no longer be the responsibility of custom official, custom service. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should be collecting. The same thing with all other agencies of government that are considered as revenue centers. So that bill has made adequate provision to show that they know the moment this bill was passed into law, they don't have any power to collect revenue. It's the Nigerian Revenue Service that should collect. Let them deal with their own responsibilities of stabilizing the economy, ensuring control over consumption, over production, over whatever. But then collection of revenue is not their own. And then between the said Internal Revenue Service and the Nigerian Revenue Service, there should be harmony. If there are revenues sources that are difficult for the said revenue service to utilize in generating revenue, they can bring in, they can collaborate, or they can reach agreement with the Nigerian Revenue Service to do the collection and then share the amount collected as per the agreement, or take cost of collection as per the agreement and then give the State Internal Revenue Service or even local government revenue committee what they deserve. So the expectation of the Nigerian Revenue Administration, Nigerian Tax Administration Bill is to bring about harmony and understanding. So how that could be brought about is a question to be answered. Because of the nature of Nigerian, the nature of official, and the way the people put their eyes on money. They want to be the one collecting money or keeping money or doing something with money. And now you are saying that all those that are used to that, they have to, they will be suspended from doing that, or they will be banned from doing that. It is only that agency, the Nigerian Revenue Service, that will be doing it. So there are some issues there that are calling for a question, okay, understanding among the agencies involved or the tier of government involved, and then of course patriotism to ensure that whatever we do as revenue collectors, as treasury managers, as revenue utilizers for the execution of various projects, we demonstrate ethics, we demonstrate honesty and integrity. The revenue agency itself, before now, the revenue agency is behaving as if it is for the federal government. And this bill that has been sent to the National Assembly is encouraging the Nigerian Revenue Service, which will now replace the Federal Revenue Service and the law that established it. It's encouraging it to consider itself as a federation agency, not federal government agency. It is to be serving the interests of the federation. And so the